Skype gossip.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. So is you, me? Is Lenny talking at the moment? Is he hiding?
No, he's not talking. I haven't heard him.
I feel possibly him as well. So, let's see. Who else? Have we got,
Is it working now?
Yep.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Oh, it's Tech Nightmare. Welcome to the Tech Nightmare Show. Oh, wow. Oh, no, that's not it. It's American... Oh. American something.
American Freeman Society.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, well, that's what it is
American
today.
Freedom Society. Right.
Possibly soon to be renamed the Israeli Freedom Society.
Could be.
Because we all love Israel. Oh, yes.
Well, we pledge allegiance to the state of Israel.
Yes.
And for the destruction
the holy
of
hexagram.
stands.
Yeah, the holy hexagram and the divine wisdom of the Talmud.
Mm-hmm. That's great.
And I just ate some pork sausages, so hail to Jewishness.
Yeah. What was it, kosher?
I didn't even bother to check. I'm that much of a Jew, I can eat pork sausage. It does not affect me.
That's important.
Yeah.
It's important at least to check.
Yeah, and I did eat right in front of some girls as I walked out the supermarket. She was very pleased.
I don't know. Apparently, they just compile such great stuff on Conspiracy Central. There's an APAC alert.
Nice.
Reaffirming the U.S.-Israel relationship. I had to download that.
Okay.
I see they're proposing new sanctions on Iran for obeying all the parts, obeying the law and keeping to the NPT and all these other little protocols they keep adding on.
Well, it's ruining it for them. They want to bomb them because it increases Israel's power, and then they'll get all that land and everything. And you see that horrible Ahmadinejad is ruining it for them, by not doing the stuff they want, like nuking people and building nuclear weapons. And
yeah, well, as I said, he's been sanctioned he's being sanctioned for not breaking the law.
Right, he's not helping them. If only he could be controlled by them, then he could do all the stuff they want.
I see Zbigniew Brzezinski, our favorite.
Yeah, the puppeteer of Obama?
Yeah, I mean, Obama's controller has apparently admitted that the awakening of the masses has begun.
Is this David Icke? I just got back on.
Zbigniew Brzezinski. I can see with David Icke myself, but
yeah, that's what David.
No. This is several. It is on David Icke's site, but it's on several YouTube videos. Of his speeches.
Okay.
Hey, how you doing, guy?
So our favourite scumbag, Jew.
No, he's a Polish aristocrat. He's not Jewish.
Well, he's certainly a Zionist.
He is a Zionist. Yeah, he's their man. But, technically he's not. But yeah, he really works for them. Can you imagine him at White House parties? I mean, the whole corner of the room is dark and real cold, and all the lights are sucked out of the room.
Yeah. I got Gary Bell from A View from Space to say that 2012 is an anagram of Zion, which is nice of him.
And Daddy's little favourite daughter is on MSNBC.
Oh, if you've ever seen MSNBC, night, day, whatever, during a commercial, they still have her picture on there. She's on there 24 hours a day. Mika Brzezinski. Have you ever seen clips of her with her father? She's frightened of him. It's really obvious. Because he'll say something, and it's just terrifying. And then she goes, "Oh, Dad," and then she's like really scared. I have a bunch of clips of that.
Another good piece of good news. It was reported a woman has been arrested in Saudi Arabia for beating the crap out of one of the religious police. She hospitalized him for daring to walk down the street with a gentleman friend. Well, apparently, when the religious police came up to this couple, the fella sort of really blanched and fainted on the floor, so she proceeded to beat the crap out of the guys and hospitalized one of them.
She must have been to America. At least on
So
vacation.
now all the civil rights things, she's now an icon in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah. I'm sure she is.
Yeah.
So
Her name wouldn't be Ishtar or anything like that, would it?
Oh no.
Warrior woman archetype. Total turnaround, doesn't it, on that one?
Oh well, I mean that's one bit of good news, I suppose.
Mm.
Right. That they always sell that women's rights are so awful in these countries, and that's why we should bomb them. Because there's never a good reason they never have anything.
Yeah, to save the women. Yeah, I see.
Yeah.
Well, that's Afghanistan, isn't it? That's the exact story, But these Taliban are terrible to their women.
Well, they sold that in about Iraq a long time. Let's see, the first Gulf War, but it just stopped working, and so now they've moved it. The story. Because they don't give up on a piece of propaganda; they just move it around.
The names have been changed to protect the guilty.
Yeah.
Another interesting piece of news. The British government is keeping Al-Qaeda man in the UK.
Okay.
Yeah, they said he could stay.
Yeah. They might need him sometime down the line for another false flag 7-7, might they?
Well, that's it. And after they've been so nice to him, what did he do, the naughty little man?
I believe he was breathing. Wasn't that the crime?
Yeah, when he does the next crime, you see, that's what they're going to
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if he's breathing, he's producing CO2, and that's a deadly crime.
Right.
Especially if you're Taliban. Taliban CO2 is far worse than normal CO2.
Yes. Yeah.
Scientifically proven.
Let's see what else we have. Good news. See if I can find any good news. Oh. Apparently, according to Hillary Clinton, they've persuaded the UN Security Council to impose new sanctions on Iran.
Hooray for Israel.
Except the Russians and the Chinese don't seem too enthusiastic about it since Mr. Ahmadinejad's little deal with Turkey and Brazil. But they've also tried to tag on to this a ban on the further development of their missile systems. Just in case they can carry nuclear weapons. What nonsense. Let's ban the nuclear weapons. Let's demand that America surrenders all its nuclear weapons. And Russia and Britain, especially Britain. Because they've never told the truth.
Pakistan blocks Facebook.
It is a wicked sight.
There was a competition page that encouraged users to post drawings of the Prophet Muhammad.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
And they all had bombs on their heads and stuff.
Well, I mean,
Everybody draw Muhammad Day, which is May 20th. That's tomorrow. Wow. But I don't see why they want Facebook over there. It's
Well, it's just a data mining site, isn't it, for the FBI, CIA, and shit?
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're going to find like Syed Qutb playing Mafia Wars with Osama bin Laden and Ayman Zawahiri, and that's how they're going to catch terrorism, you know.
Yeah. MySpace is the same, but on Facebook, all you do is talk about your personal details. You know, MySpace, at least you can do like put up stuff like if you're a band, you can put up your bio and just put up blogs and stuff. You can't even blog on Facebook.
No.
It's all, you know, oh, I spoke to my mum today, here's a photo of her, and we said this and we said that. Really boring.
Oh, and it looks like the media are giving Rand Paul a free pass to the Senate.
Wow, is he going to raise money and then not run for president too?
I don't know, but it appears that the Democratic candidate has been lying about his Vietnam War record. He never was in it.
Oh, that makes a change. Everybody says they were in Nam. They never were.
Yeah.
John Kerry lied about his Nam experience, didn't he?
But he's a songbird. He was the one that gave all our secrets away.
Yeah.
John Songbird Kerry. No, I'm sorry. That's McCain. Songbird McCain.
Okay. Oh, John McCain.
Yeah, he's the one that gave our secrets away. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I mean, look, if you take away the muck on McCain, you get Kane. It's like John of Cain, of the tribe of Cain.
Well, we could elect Abel.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, how much of an obvious... That was an obvious joke of, say, the Illuminati. You know, see if you would vote for John of Cain, you know, son of, sort of like Death of Cain and God of Cain and all that. One who is close to God who happens to be Cain or something, you know, depending on how you translate the word John from the Hebrew. But yeah, it was just like, you can't really get much more obvious than that. And Cain also is in Robocop 2.
British Afghan mission to come under US control. British troops in Helmand province will be under American control as part of a radical restructuring plan being drawn up in preparation for what is being described as a defining time in the war against the Taliban. Wow. And then under that, of course, is 6 NATO troops killed by car bomb.
Look, you have to do what the British East India Company tells you. I mean, when they say grow poppies, you got to grow poppies. You know.
Well, yeah. I mean, we're really exerting our power, aren't we, on these?
I mean, they got to have a certain price for heroin in this country. I mean, the Taliban are blowing that.
Vastly increased production seems to be lowering the price.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's usually the way of economics.
Yeah, well, that's what they're there for. They're fighting for our freedom to have heroin.
Yeah.
Yeah, for democracy. The People's Republic of China, you know, the democracy.
It's a hippie dream, isn't it? Free heroin for all or something.
Right.
Just get it with your welfare check.
I don't know. They're having a Google Zeitgeist Europe forum yesterday, and they deny there's a privacy crisis.
Zeitgeist.
Yeah. Good name to call it. That's a great name to call it. Perfect name for Google, who took do no evil off their company goals.
I would think there's, Zeitgeist. What is it? It's just another name for New World Order.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's a Jewish term.
Noam Chomsky refused entry into Israel and the West Bank.
Right. Well, he's paying lip service to the 9/11 Truth Movement, so he's a terrorist, so he can't be let in.
I did read a piece yesterday of the increasing amount of information and actual evidence that 9/11 was in fact a combined Mossad's MI6 CIA operation. Mossad led, of course.
Well, someone had to spray paint the building.
Well, yeah, I mean, they would, they had to spray paint with nanothermite, didn't they, to bring it down.
No matter how bad the job market is, Americans aren't going to take the job, like, well, we want you to spray paint the inside of the Statue of Liberty, and then we're going to blow it up. I mean, no one's going to do that. So they turned off the electricity 2 weekends in a row before the 9/11, and so those had to be the 900 art students that they deported without charging them.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Some of them appeared on TV after they were jumping for joy.
Apparently, the Liberal Democrats are refusing to support the transfer of the leadership of the British mission in Afghanistan to the US.
Well, it's a NATO force, isn't it? Because Afghanistan's on the Atlantic, right?
NATO.
Yeah, North Atlantic Treaty. That makes sense for them to be in Afghanistan, and Russia's going to join it in Turkey. So yeah, they can't give us control because we're not on the Atlantic and all that.
Well, apparently, according to our favourite Zionist, Big New, China and North Korea and India and Pakistan are forming a new Pacific, instead of an Atlantic group of power.
No.
Mm.
We're not on the Pacific. We don't have any say.
So
there's a new coalition.
So the west coast of the US is forfeit.
Well, I think we're in the Indian Ocean, aren't we? That's the kind of geography we have in America. That's as good as it gets. Where's Pakistan again?
Oh, somewhere down the bottom there.
Yeah. It's Tierra del Fuego.
Just off, actually, yeah. Off and to the left.
They have polar bears here. I'm really confused, So, yeah. It's important as long as Taiwan, isn't touched. Something like that. I was reading about that. I don't understand the news.
Apparently now, the Canadians have been quite a failure in Kandahar province. So, according to this report, McChrystal, the head of the American contingent and NATO forces, wants to move the British into Kandahar to replace the Canadians, the failures. They obviously, the Canadians haven't been shooting enough women and babies,
Yeah, for
They
change.
can't find Al-Qaeda.
There you go. Pakistan's between India and Afghanistan and borders on China on the northeast.
All those deep
Apparently, hang on, chaps. I mean, this is significant. Apparently, Washington and the Pentagon have offered to underwrite the cost of this move of British
that's generous of them.
troops.
Maybe not enough British people have died over there yet.
Yeah.
You think that's it?
Nah, it serves the sort of like combining all the forces from different countries into a country. So it's like everybody's holding hands sort of thing, fighting the enemy. It's all helping globalization, obviously. And, you want a one world army, don't they? Just one of the things: one world police force, one world army, one world religion, one world monetary system. So they're getting people used to having like troops being relocated from country to country, but it being paid for by a third country. You know, because it would be nice if the country you're invading paid you to leave. That'd be nice. That'd be a good way of fighting wars. It's like just go in there and be so terrible. It's like really play really loud music and be really annoying and obnoxious, and then they just like pay you to leave. Just shoot stuff like old cattle or something.
Well, they're spinning and making stuff up as fast as they can. You gotta give these guys at the Pentagon a break when they make up news.
Mm.
Yeah.
I thought the Pentagon always issued talking points to the mainstream.
Yeah, they have that Defense Intelligence Agency, and they tell them what to say. That's why they look so scared on the news.
See what other gems we can find.
After the acid demineralizes the bone is transferred to a lime bath. Here, lime finishes the job of breaking down the collagen proteins that is exposed by the hydrochloric acid.
I read the Scotsman. All Scottish news.
I've got some stuff from Albie Gray that he's a bit wacko. I don't even know anything about him. He's like, we can all live forever sort of thing, and we're developing the technology to do it. It's Grey Life Institute, I think. There's some TV on the background. Doesn't matter.
So Iran is according to the BBC, Iran is defying a Security Council resolutions ordering it to suspend all enrichment of uranium. Wow. So if the Security Council orders me to jump off a cliff, I'm going to do it, right?
Of course.
Security.
National security.
Absolutely freaking not. Yeah, I mean, why is Iran refusing to obey Security Council resolutions? Because it's sticking to the Non-Proliferation Treaty, which it has never broken. It's obeying the law,
That's
not
a
these
crime now, isn't
stupid
it? Obeying
resolutions.
law is a crime?
Such states have to remain under inspection from the IAEA. Iran is under inspection. Well, it says here, though not under the strictest rules allowed because it will not agree to them. Well, no, that's inaccurate, Mr. BBC, because they were sticking to the additional protocols. That is until France stole their uranium and refused to return it, and so then the Iranians said, okay, you're not going to stick by the additional protocols, neither will we. Thank you, we'll just stick to the basic treaty, same as everybody else. So this isn't a problem created by Iran, it was France who refused to return their uranium. Wow. But of course the mainstream media will never tell you that.
But they open the package, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You can't return it now.
Ahmadinejad, President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad has repeatedly stressed that Iran will not yield to international pressure. Well, it's a sovereign country, and it's carrying on with its sovereign rights. It's a member of, it's a signatory to the NPT, and it's obeying them. America and Britain are signatories to the internationally agreed laws for making war, but they've broken every one of them.
Well, what part of global fascist police state, global socialist police state does Ahmadinejad not understand? You have to do what they say, right?
Yeah.
Security and safety in Israel.
The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few.
To.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, America breaks the conventions and the Hague Treaties and the other conventions on a whim. So does Britain, and Britain is the worst. You know?
They have to do what they're told, right?
Absolutely. Do as we say, not as we do.
Yeah. Well, that's important.
Why
Is
has...
there some other planet I can move to? I've had it. This sucks.
Yeah, but it's all a move away from having individual countries decide their own future sort of thing and what they can do, and it's all bowing down to committees and like organisations and like groups of countries. It's all everything's get all lumped together, all becoming like big lumps, and they hope then to eventually merge everything into one lump. And they're planning on removing names of countries and stuff, and you'll just be given like sectors and areas.
Like
10, I think
10 horns.
That's it. 10 diadems. Yeah, there's 10 sections, each with a section leader or something. Which sounds ridiculous. Sounds almost like work. Yeah, so you've got 10 section leaders or whatever, and they all follow like the world leader person, the person who's supposed to rule the entire planet. Or he might be part of a sort of like invisible round table thing, sort of like King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table.
That was King Hitler.
Why is it? Why is this crime of Iran? Why should it matter if Iran does further enrichment? Because it is argued it will give Iran more expertise in further enriching uranium. This is the key phrase. The Western fear, again we're talking fear, is that it is positioning itself to make a nuclear device.
Well, isn't it the Western pretend fear?
Well, yeah, I mean, if Iran built a few bombs, and I wish they would,
Yeah.
they wouldn't use them because they'd get plastered.
But we have to protect our phony security.
Mm.
We pretend there's Al-Qaeda, and then we pretend to move it around, and then we pretend it's attacking, and then we pretend they're making a bomb. So, look, we have a lot of pretend things. We have a completely phony constructed reality that we have to maintain here, and Ahmadinejad's not helping.
No, he brings too much reality into the situation.
Burn that guy.
Send him back to the Stone Age.
Don't you even have a fear-based monetary system in America? Oh, sorry, I mean a fiat-based monetary system in America.
No, we didn't. We sold one of the car companies.
I think you got it right the first time.
Yeah, fear-based.
Because if you don't use this fiat dollar, you'll be paupers and you won't be able to eat and drink and.
Well, that's it. Yeah, fear-based monetary system means you're always in fear of not having enough money.
Yeah, there's limited resources in Marxism. You know what I mean? They had to all fight over it.
Fear is
it doesn't matter if there's actually endless resources. We have to pretend that there's limited resources. Cap all the oil wells and.
Yeah. All actors need motivation.
Right.
And blow up oil wells so it leaks all over the place just to pretend there is this problem.
Yeah, if we're going to pretend there's a peak oil problem, we need, problems to fix.
Yeah, and movies to reinforce it, and TV to show you it,
and a phony environmental movement.
Yeah.
It's hard to fake reality like this. We have to play along.
Oh, it's not. It's not. My wife and daughter were watching an NCIS, Naval Intelligence Progress thing on. And the bullshit that is pushed out as reality on that program is just, I can't believe it.
Yeah.
These things like it's almost like CNN News. They're comedies.
Well, they have the Israeli on the show. She killed one of their members, so of course, or no.
So CSI. There's loads of different variations.
Yeah. So they have to have the Israeli on the show because, of course, that's how our national security works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Ziva, the inevitable, Ziva, the inevitable Mossad agent, yes.
Yeah. Her brother's
And of
one
course, she as a woman can beat the crap out of any of all these men, can't she?
That's right.
Oh yeah.
This
That never works.
superpower.
Yeah.
You know, and she's there with all the bits and pieces. I mean, good heavens, you don't talk to these people. You just pull the trigger and blow the freaking heads off. You don't
Yeah,
talk.
they're guilty.
Yeah.
Well, if you don't have a Zionist controller, it's like, you have no center.
Yeah, well, Rahm Emanuel's doing a good job in the White House.
Yeah, he's the enforcer for Zbigniew.
Do you know, it amazes me we can't see the strings, you know. When Obama stood up there on the stage, how come we can't see the strings? Well, maybe we can, but
Well, he's
we
told
just-
what to do by the teleprompter.
we just don't comprehend it.
See, in the past times they had strings attached, but now they have stage directions. And then they have guns on the side, so I'm sure they just shoot him if he doesn't do what he's told.
Well, yeah,
Maybe-
remote.
We've all seen that little wire that goes down like from his ear to the back of his neck, and to his little radio thingy. I wonder if that's really a taser. Speak
Yeah.
what's on that prompter, or we press this button.
It might be like the 9/11 trials where they have the stun belt on. If they don't say what they're told, they're stunned by the belt. He probably wears one of those.
Does Israel accept the Non-Proliferation Treaty and the NIE report? No, Israel does not.
Well,
Then
they don't have to sign anything. They're God's chosen people, right?
Do you know, I thought that was the Israelites that were God-chosen people.
Well, we do whatever they say.
Yeah, but they're not the Israelites, are they?
No.
Well, I guess
They're just the people. They're just the people that live in Israel.
Yeah,
they're
that's
the
it.
people that chose themselves. They converted in the year 800. They're Russian Turks, and they have a right to go to the place where their ancestors had never been before, right? All you have to do is convert. If I convert to Hinduism, I get a free homeland in India, don't I? Oh, wait, I don't.
Oh, well, actually, my wife does. Because Grandad was from Belize, she has a right to Belizean citizenship.
Yeah, but not if you convert to it. So if you choose yourself, then you're the chosen people, I guess.
This is a real good one. Don't existing nuclear powers have obligations to get rid of their weapons under the NPT? Article 6 commits them to pursue negotiations in good faith on effective measures relating to cessation of the nuclear arms race at an early date and to nuclear disarmament. Funny that, because Britain has never dismantled, disarmed, or disposed of a single weapon ever produced. It is not, and it never did sign the START Treaty or any of the others. Britain excluded itself from those talks. So if America and Russia actually do go down to 1,500 nuclear weapons, Britain's 1,800 will out-trump them.
Well, the Russians never disarmed. I thought it was just us. They had the right to inspect us, but we never went over there.
No, but the military equipment was shown on TV to be all rusting and dysfunctional. But there's, that's what I'm thinking. That was probably those cameras are there for a reason.
Well, that's because they need new stuff, and we have to pay for it.
Yeah, that's it. They'll just drag out some of the old rusting tanks and have them jolt around, like shamble around in a jokey style, and then you go, oh, those Russians are all clowns. And
I think in 2008 they proved otherwise
Yeah.
When the CIA was supposedly unaware that several hundred tanks, 600 or 700 of them, zoomed it into South Ossetia and into Georgia at high speed to capture all the secret American and Israeli weaponry. Oh,
Yeah.
well.
Well, they did a coup just a few months ago, and they've taken over Poland now. Very much. That was like did a show on it basically. They
when they disposed of the when they disposed of the majority of the Polish elite in that small air crash that everybody knows was a put-up job.
96 people killed, and the president as well, and they're all members of the Polish government in the upper echelons. And then guess who investigated the air crash and has put in a stand-in government? It's the Russians, because the plane crashed in Russian territory. So yeah, pretty obvious that what happened there. And the NKPD, or whatever it is, the Russian secret police sent over, the FBI apparently is sent over, and they've done a clampdown on news stories coming out of Poland. So it's all saying it's happening one way, news stories, but what's happening really is the Russian government is taking over the Polish government, and just take it, just as I said, they're just taking over the whole government. They are like
they just put the puppets in, aren't they?
Well, they were opposing all this globalization, so rather than have the Greek riots, they have to get them all on a plane and crash it.
Yeah, standard sort of cloak and dagger routine.
Right.
Yeah, but you see, they always miscalculate on these things, because there's always this horrible thing called nationalism rears its ugly head.
I thought we were more mature now, ready to march towards world government like idiots, or whatever they said. I forgot the line. Like morons, like Goyam.
Yeah, but apparently we've stirred. We've stirred this nationalism, this American nationalism, this patriotism, this British nationalism and patriotism, Polish nationalism and patriotism, and Greek nationalism, and it seems to be spreading.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, death of the New World Order. We can't have that. Let's close down the internet so people can't talk. Let's really take control of the news now. We seem to be failing, chaps.
Mm.
I don't know. We can hear Maggot today.
Yeah, I'm still talking.
Mr. MI6,
yeah.
Could you disrupt it for us?
Yeah, somebody spoke. Yeah, somebody spoke in just a second ago. It was quite strange. Just checking the name or something. Yeah, NKVD, that's the Russian secret police. So yeah, I mean, they've raised a handy iron curtain around Poland, and so everybody thinks everything's hunky-dory. And when the curtain goes down, Poland will have decided to join the forming Russian Empire.
Yeah.
Well, isn't the same happening with the Ukraine, where it's slowly being steered back into the Russian fold?
Yeah, it's the same routine.
Sphere of influence, whatever you like to call it. But I mean, from my perspective, the Russians are part of the plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the breakup of the EU is definitely not part of the plan. Trying desperately now to hold the EU together, but nationalism rears its ugly head again. The Germans want nothing to do with the euro, and they want to pull out of it now.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, the Russians never really abandoned their pogroms anyway, did they? They had the 5-year plans imposed by Stalin, and they just carried on straight with them. And one of them was obviously to give I think they call it a feint of weakness, when you feign weakness. And to give the impression that they're all failing superpower and, sort of like dithering around so that everybody else get overconfident, in other words, arrogant. And then when they all self-destruct because they aren't as organised or as efficient as Russians, from their perspective, it's all like they're all fair game to be taken over. Because the Polish government were coming over basically to celebrate a massacre or something. It was really stupid. They were coming over to because 20,000 Polish officers had been killed by the Russians in the past, and they came over to the site. They were coming over to the site to like commemorate it or something, and so they got slaughtered en route. You know, how stupid have you got to be to do that? Fall for that trick. And of course, the Russian Prime Minister is all like, "Oh, we're terribly sorry about this great tragedy," and you know, it was all totally fake. You know, they're all laughing under their hands about it in the stupid polls.
I think that's probably why there's not such a lot of news coming out of Poland, is because they're not so stupid.
No, it's because the Russians have taken over the media in Poland.
Oh yeah, but that means the reason they've taken over the media is because it is rebelling. I mean, they've got to take some means to quell this rebellion, and I mean,
all this freedom talk.
Yeah, I don't know. There's plenty of Poles living over here, and I don't get that impression from them at all. They seem to be totally duped by it. I mean, they possibly do suspect something's going on, but that doesn't really do much, does it? Going around glowering at people doesn't exactly, you know, equal war.
Well, this is
a cold stare.
Remember, this is all government. You know, mind control. Control your mind.
Yeah.
You know, so
yeah, and the Russians are one of the best people at doing that, if not the best. They've got the longest reputation of doing it. The whole regime from Lenin, Trotsky, Stalin, that was all it was about. You know.
Well, have you not noticed that your own and mine, my country, my native country, they can do the most horrendous, heinous crimes and come up smelling of roses.
Yeah.
Every freaking time. And yet, you know, I mean, let's be honest, just the latest genocidal tendencies of the British, when Bomber Harris did his 1,000 bomber raids over Germany, I mean, that was a crime, the ultimate crime of genocide. They deliberately armed these bombers, not just with blast bombs, but with every other bomb was an incendiary.
Yeah.
To deliberately create the firestorm that they wanted, because the bombing and didn't really kill that many people. It was the firestorm, where the whole city was burning so rapidly it created 100-mile-an-hour winds into the city. And this was fanning the flames and making it worse, so it was just a complete firestorm. It was designed that way.
Was this Arthur Bomber Harris, 1892 to 1984?
Yeah, Bomber Harris. Yeah.
Okay. I heard that.
He was the boss of Bomber Command during the war.
Oh, I see.
Bomber Harris?
Yeah. Harris led RAF Bomber Command in World War II, earning him the nickname Bomber Harris. His implementation of the policy of saturation or area bombing of German cities has made him a hugely controversial figure. Is that the basis of carpet bombing? Is he the person who started up that idea? Yeah, yes. They sort of perfected that in Iraq.
Yes. Carpet bombing, you see, but that's a euphemism, because it isn't really bombing. It's only every second or third bomb is a blast bomb. The rest are all incendiaries. It's not bombing. Well, it is bombing, but it's fire bombing. It's not.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. And hence you now get. I mean, in Vietnam, for example, the Americans extensive use of napalm in areas, created such fires and updraft that it caused thunderstorms which put the flames out.
Yeah. Guess where he was born? He was born in Cheltenham. 13th of April 1892.
Cheltenham. Oh yeah, GCHQ. British Intelligence.
Yeah.
Blexley Park.
Yeah, and also Ham as well. Ham is apparently the tribe of Cain. That's what the tribe of Cain was called, as Ham. It's also the town I live in.
Well, and I mean, this whole system of corporate bullshit is creates these problems. And what we should be putting forward is this alternative idea of free men. Forget national borders, just free men. Who needs government if you're free men?
On the land?
Yeah.
On the land. Well, free.
There's Admiralty. We're on the water, aren't we? We're all underwater.
Oh no, you were born out of the water, yes, but that's neither in your mother's water, and you know. And
I thought
a
it
guy.
was right to have Admiralty on land. No.
This is a lovely article. It says his experience as a pilot. See how much of a philanthropist he is and a humanitarian he is in this. His experiences as a pilot on the Western Front shaped his opinion of air bombing as preferable to the mass slaughter of the trenches. It's far more humane to bomb people from a distance.
Yes.
Well, yeah, and that seems to be. You know, the further away you are, the easier it is to kill, and you've got less conscience about it.
Yeah, because their definition of preferable, you see, they sort of like preferable in brackets to the army.
Yeah, well, let's not kill German soldiers. Let's just wipe out all their kiddies, wives and families. You know.
Yeah, and even better, let's not wipe out many of ours. You know, because that's the big humanitarian crisis. If our troops get killed, you know, if their troops get killed, it doesn't really matter so much. That's bad, but not as bad as if we got killed. Because if they get killed, then we've lost a chance to recruit them. But if it's civilians, then so what? You know, fair game.
Yeah, Germans eat babies, don't they? And gas Jews.
Exactly. They're building tunnels to England, so you know.
Yeah. And they eat babies. Did I mention they eat babies?
Well, they bayonet them. They've used that trick over and over again. They claim that they bayonet them, and then we get all the way over to like Belgium or whatever, and it's never true. But we believe it anyway.
Yeah, and of course, then they don't waste this carnage. They make soap and lampshades and
whatever else they can make up. You know.
Yeah.
Any made up story's good.
Yeah. Of course it is.
And then the Germans said it was the Jews that doing it all along, and everybody was like, "Oh, so it was the Jews, so it's not quite so bad."
Yeah.
According to popular myth, of course, it was the Vatican who supported Hitler as a good little Catholic, and you know, it was they who supplied all the materiel and funding. So, and it was they.
Well, because you know, Hitler was a big Christian there with the Thule Society and the Vril Society and Frederick von List, but because that makes him a Christian. That's as Christian as you can get, isn't it? Yeah. Secret Society, Madame Blavatsky.
Yeah, and of course, the swastika was a broken cross only because he couldn't draw properly.
Right.
You know, it's the only reason.
Mm-hmm. Sign of Christianity.
Yeah. Swastika is a broken cross.
Yeah.
Well, there was a lot of Illuminati symbolism in the Nazi.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just look at the SS, the skull and crossbones, the skull and bones.
Another Christian symbol.
The hat badge.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And what was the little eagle they had on the left breast pocket? Little shite hawk. Well, there you go. All the symbolism we need.
Yeah. Well, that's to present nationalism as bad.
Is that what the eagle was called? I don't actually remember what the eagle was called on there.
You lost us with symbology there. Go ahead and tell us, please.
I mean, well, I just named it, didn't I? It's a shite hawk.
Okay.
But if you count the feathers on the wings, just as in the American
was it
bald
32 and
eagle.
33?
That's
We
right.
have 32 on one side and 33 on the
33
other.
on the other. Exactly. That's a direct take from the well, I mean, I suppose the Nazis took it as well from the Illuminati, because these symbols were there long before you had the bald eagle with 32 and 33.
Yeah,
Well,
on the dollar bill.
Yeah, on the dollar bill. That symbol's
Two
been
sides
around.
of the same coin there. They're both from the same secret society, but there was two factions, the Agartha side, that was the Hitler side, and the Atlantic side. They were in the same club, so they didn't fight each other exactly. They just sent us as cannon fodder. You know how that works.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, of course, you know.
I didn't realise the shite hawk was the actual thing. You see, when you said shite hawk, I thought you just meant shit hawk. Because you know, say shite things. Oh, that's shite when you're talking crap sort of thing, and it's like, oh, it's a crappy hawk.
The secret societies are, but yeah.
So, I mean, these things have been around, and just like I explained earlier, watching that NCIS, all the symbolism there is, you know, that you've got to have all these different tokens there. So,
I got a shite hawksman having a shite. That's only
Oh no, they don't do anything without symbolism. Everything is loaded with symbolism, and there's multiple levels of it.
layer upon layer, and it's all designed to affect your subconscious. You may not even actually recognize it, but I'm sure it's there, and it, you know, it's like multiple level marketing. They keep putting these symbols there on everything, and then eventually there's product recognition and what have you. Unfortunately, the product they're selling seems to be Satanism.
Yeah, it's the same spiritual forces at work, and
Yeah,
they're
one big
working
pyramid
into your
going after
mind.
the all-seeing eye.
Yeah, they're going through the soul into the mind, sort of thing, and controlling your body at the end of the day.
As long as you do what you're told. I was just following orders.
Yeah, as long as what you think is what they think, then it's all right.
I went a few years ago. I went back to the UK, and as is my usual wont, I held my passport open with 3 fingers so they could see the page with the details, my photograph, and the franking stamp from the passport department, and I just walked straight past the immigration.
Yeah.
And this woman called me back. No, you can't do that anymore. You can't do that anymore, she said. I said, why? I said, are you going to deny me entry into my own country? And she said, no, we've just got these new rules to follow, you know. We have to know who's in the country. So she wanted me passport to swipe it through this machine so I could read it.
Yeah.
With the RFID or just the barcode?
It had the barcode, but it also had the RFID. Both.
They actually call it a Frankenstamp, a franking stamp, like Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Exactly. Frankenstein.
So when she said it's all the new rules and what have you, I just said, oh, you mean it's more of Blair's bullshit? And she looked at me.
The Blair Witch Project.
Yeah, and the
I
wife.
believe they call that tyranny.
Yeah, and the wife who was stood behind me disappeared into the queue. and I said to her, so why do you need to do it? Oh, we need to know. And I said, she said to me, I'm only doing my job. I said, do you know, that's exactly what the guards and the people at Auschwitz and Treblinka and Buchenau said at the Nuremberg trials. What's your excuse?
That always works at Nuremberg when you go to the trial.
Yeah, but then she looked at me, and there was this huge, great fella stood behind her, glaring at me with his arms crossed across his chest, just glaring at me. And I thought, I'm daring you to say something or do something, pal. And anyway, she finished swiping the passport. I just snatched it out of her hand and just walked away. But she got absolutely no reply when I said, that's exactly what the guards at Treblinka and Auschwitz and Buchanau said. What's
Well,
your
it's the barcode of
excuse?
freedom and, the RFID chip of safety.
Yeah, you must. This is all for your own good.
Well, it certainly is.
You're so ungrateful when they, lay that heavy tyranny on you.
Yeah, we've only got all these street cameras and speed cameras, and it's all for your own good. Now they're going
Don't
to
you
put
feel safe?
Yeah, and now they're going to put inspectors into your private home if you've got children under 5, and if you've got kids under 15, you can say no, I don't need it, thank you very much, but by consent. But under 5, they're going to come in and make sure you've got stair gates and you've got safety sockets for the electricity and all that sort of shit. I mean, this is so much garbage.
Yeah.
Whose kids are they? They're not the state's. They're yours.
Mm.
They're your progeny. They're not
have a birth certificate?
property of the state.
Have a birth certificate?
Unfortunately, most parents fall into that trap. And they don't realise there's no law demanding that they register their kids.
Yeah.
You're not forced to register the birth.
Yeah, yeah.
There's no law in the UK that says you must. So you inform on your kids and put them into this system. But as a 15-year-old, you can tell these buggers to go boil their heads. You're not old enough to be a party to a contract. So go stuff yourselves. I was too young at the time. So, I mean, people have got to be shown how real law should work.
I feel that, he's not a good person to actually trust anymore, that he's only be a social. So,
Well, you've got a technology report. It might be really boring. Future Everything gathers technology's avant-garde. Artists, musicians, engineers and hackers from around the world recently descended on Manchester for a 3-day celebration of digital culture. It's bbc.co.uk reports, I'm assuming they mean Manchester, England. Now in its 15th year, Future Everything, previously called Future Sonic, has quietly established itself as an annual gathering for the technology avant-garde. Avant-garde means without borders. It's French.
Yeah.
With a £10,000 prize up for grabs for the best innovation, the stakes were high for the exhibitors at a local pop-up art gallery called The Hive.
The Hive? With
Yeah.
bees and the whole bit?
Yeah,
And John D?
yeah, that's it. Yeah, so where I went for my family meal as well was a place called The Beehive.
Yeah, because we're all little worker bees.
They're
Yeah.
probably promoting the hive mind.
Right.
Exactly, yeah. I think Beatrix is into bees as well. You know, as you tell from her name, Beatrix. Bees that do tricks. She has bees that do tricks.
It's amazing that this whole thrust of the New World Order is to create this hive with the Queen in charge and all these drones, slaves, all the drones ministering to her needs, and then you've got the worker bees working their nuts off to keep the hive going.
Yeah.
That's freedom, isn't it?
Democracy in action.
It is.
It is for the Queen, isn't it? It is for the Queen.
She can order anyone around.
Free.
But
Yeah,
I've never seen the Bookhouse bitch lay an egg yet.
She does in V, the latest series. She lays several thousands of them.
I thought reptiles laid eggs, didn't they?
Yeah, that's it. That's the joke. Yeah, she lays eggs as these super soldiers, and they're not as strong as she hoped. Anyhow, I'll continue. Runners-up included Prime Numerics, an algorithm-based computer program developed to perform real-time live analysis of the language used by the 3 UK party political leaders during the last televised debate before the election. Well, that was a waste of time then. in brackets, according to its results, David Cameron used the most present tense verb, Gordon Brown used the longest words, and Nick Clegg expressed the most positive emotions. So it's almost like they were remotely programmed then, wasn't it? Oh, that's a surprise. The next prize went to iWriter, a team who developed a pair of glasses designed to track and record eye movement, enabling people to draw pictures using their eyes.
I don't know why people...
Yeah.
I honestly don't know why people bothered to vote in the UK election, because it was decided months before who and what. I mean, they were being told long enough, this is going to be a hung parliament, this is going to be a hung parliament, this is going to be a hung parliament.
Yeah.
And guess what happened? Guess what happened? It was a fucking hung parliament. Even though they had to lock out thousands of voters in certain areas and create voters out of thin air in others, and lock polling stations and refuse to open them in others. But they got the result.
Out of the sky.
They got the result. Yeah. In other words, that should be a lesson to everyone. If you don't follow the rules, do not fly in a private plane.
Yeah, I know. I was saying that in a previous show. It's like the connection between politicians dying in private planes. You know, the amount of private planes that go down that happen to carry politicians at conveniently important times. You know, just probably the statistically is like quite high. You'd have to be out of your mind to do it, to go in a private plane.
I don't believe in coincidence. There is no such thing as coincidence. Especially not when it happens repeatedly thousands of times. That isn't a coincidence. That's a pattern. Yeah. That's a pattern.
Doesn't even the word coincidence means two incidences occurring at the same time, side by side. So it means it was planned. In other words, you know, it cause and effect sort of thing. And people think coincidence means the same word as luck. Just one of the little tricks that I like to play on you is make you think a word means something else, but if you look it up in the dictionary, you find out what it actually means, what you suspected it meant.
Yeah, but you see, the problem with that is, in the Oxford Dictionary, they do change the meaning of words, because it's what is colloquially thought of as the meaning of a word. I mean, the word gay now in the Oxford Dictionary means homosexual. But in the old days, of course, it meant you were happy and frolicking and you know, big smile on your face. Now it means you're a queer and you bend over at regular intervals.
Mm-hmm. I defined the original meaning of gay as being simple and stupid. Really depends on your perspective. Because those sort of people, always people get killed in stories, even children's stories. But it's grim.
So the only dictionary I would rely on would be Black's Law Dictionary, because those definitions are defined in law, in legal terms, not law. Terms, in legal terms.
Or Maggot's New Bacon Dictionary. It's coming soon to the stores near you.
Bacon Dictionary?
Yeah. I call it the Maggot Dictionary. Yeah, that's what Newspeak was based on, wasn't it? In 1984, you know, they kept on rewriting the dictionary.
They also kept they changed the archives of the newspaper, so if you wanted to go back and check a story, that was what Winston's job was, to change. Yeah, to
make sure it was collaborated with whatever news story was.
I entirely agree. I mean, the largest selling tome, book, whatever you like to call it, the Bible has been rewritten, revised, changed. You know, these laws of God seem to move around with the whim of the wind.
Yeah. He might be supreme, all-seeing, all-knowing force, but he doesn't seem to be able to make his mind up, and he don't seem to know the English language very well, does he?
And he seems to change his mind from being a racist dictator and murderous scoundrel into being this loving, all-encompassing being.
Yeah,
this magical, this magical transformation seems to have took place when he violated a 13-year-old child to produce his son.
I know, and he's particularly friendly with people like Sir Elton John. It's like, yeah, like blatant homosexual, really obviously friendly with them. It's like Jehovah in the Old Testament. He did loads of crackpot stuff. It's like, I think it was 130 children or something. He possessed bears basically to rip them to shreds, because what they'd done, these wicked children, absolutely disgusting what they'd done, they'd laughed at a monk's bald spot. Yeah, there was these monks going around, and one of them had a bald patch on the back of his head, and this is the origination of the story of why all monks now have bald patches. You know, that thing, that silly hair they have, the bald patch. So it's called the tonsure. Yeah. That's why they all shave the top of their heads, just the top, to imitate a bald spot. These wicked children mocked him, and so of course the only natural thing to do was for the all-caring God, the God who loves his children, to have them all ripped to shreds by bears.
Yeah, I mean, suffer little children to come unto me, and boy, how the bastard makes them suffer.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, I am firmly convinced now that this geezer they call Yahweh is in actual fact Satan. We've been deceived.
I know.
I mean, all the killing and rape and murder and razing of cities.
New World Order's religion, won't it?
Yeah. You know, raised this. The number of cities he's razed to the ground and parted the waves and drowned people and, I mean, bought from one family. No, I mean, he preserved them in this little boat, that would have sunk under the weight of animal flesh if they'd put everything in 2 by 2. Unless, of course, he had all the fowl of the air with little ropes attached to their feet, flying around, holding it up. I mean, the thing would have sunk. I mean, unbelievable that people think that there can be a Noah's Ark that saved all these creatures. Wouldn't even hold the food for the elephants for 40 days and 40 nights, never mind that.
How many people did he employ to clean out all the poop? What did he do with all the poop on the ship? He obviously can't throw it away because you'd run out of even food. It's a ridiculous idea, and they have to get around to it by using science. Science is an old trick as well. It's also a trick of the devil, because now they're saying, oh, it was actually a submarine, and they haven't got this far, but they'll do it underwater UFO, like massive, like several mile wide UFO that travelled underwater, and that's why it could survive the flood. I mean, that'd be the next theory they're coming up with, and it came from deep under the sea.
They keep finding this Noah's Ark.
Yeah.
This wooden craft of 40 cubits long. Well, say a cubit is 18 inches at most, and it's 40 of them. So it's only 60 foot long.
That's tiny. That's tiny.
Yeah, I know.
They have to do some serious rewriting of the Bible to get around that.
They got every creature on the planet on it, and all the food needed for 40 days and 40 nights.
These baldy monks who have to get hard at work, again rewriting that Bible, introduce my amazing idea of the underwater spaceship. Yeah, they even try and link it in with Captain Nemo and stuff like that. That story only just came up in the 1800s, as far as I know. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea and all that. And the whole thing about Poseidon and stuff like that. But it's just desperate. It's desperate. They got these poor stories, and they'll say, "Oh no, it's actually this. No, it's actually about that." And the Bible is like a compilation of different cultural stories, really old stories.
Different fictions.
Yeah, that were just stories. Just sort of gather around the fire and make up stories. And it pleases the children because they like to hear stories, and under the starlight and that sort of stuff. And then some idiots decided that enough people actually believe those stories if they combined them all into a big book, and then put it all under the name of one God, then people would just fall in line and believe that this one God was behind everything. It's really like the New World Order of their time, because they want everybody to fall in their line, in their one world religion as well. It was like a prototype for that.
Well, they almost achieved that with they keep telling us there's 1 billion Catholics. Yeah, right.
Well, it has to be one generation, and the next generation there should be 2 billion, and the next generation there should be 4, and the next generation there should be 8, because they're not allowed to use contraceptive.
But people are falling away from the Catholic Church, but they still count them just because you've been confirmed as a Catholic.
Yeah.
You know, you might never go to that church or support it again, but you're still counted in the number.
Yeah. They just call them non-practicing Catholics. Plenty of those. Plenty of that don't even know what it's about. They just get roped into it.
Well, it's not that they don't know; they're terrified into it in Africa and in South America.
Catholicism, Christianity.
No, Catholicism is churchianity.
Right. Well, what about the Orthodox churches?
Well, I mean, as far as I understand
we
it,
never translated the Bible. We kept it in its original language and kept it. You know what I mean?
When the Catholic Crusaders stormed across Europe, killing the Jews and sacking Constantinople and slaughtering the Byzantine Christians, the real Christians, and then obviously they went on down into Jerusalem and slaughtered the Islamists.
Yeah.
It's amazing. The only thing we can say is that this Roman churchianity defeated the Islamic hordes and prevented the Islam spreading all the way through Europe. That's about its only achievement. But
Yeah.
apart from millions of other deaths.
I'll tell you another thing you can find out about the Bible, how sort of like restricted it was in sort of like the regionals it recruited information from, and how it is just a collection of stories. You won't find any sort of like Norwegian myths in there. Nothing about Odin or Freya or I don't think you find anything Greek either. It's all very.
It was written in Greek.
No, but you won't find anything about Zeus, will you?
About what?
You won't find anything about Zeus in there, in the Bible.
In the New Testament?
Yeah, New Testament, Old Testament, anything analogous to it?
Okay.
No, well, the only thing you find analogous to it is when this jealous God comes down and says, you're not going to get any other gods but me. If you do, I'm going to slaughter you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, which is exactly what you expect Satan to say.
You're going to worship.
There is Odin who is tied to a tree, and you can say, Jesus is tied to a cross, but that's a bit lame, really. It doesn't really compare. He was nailed to a cross for all the things he'd done and whatever, and he was nailed between two thieves, and there's nothing comparison to Odin on that.
Yeah, but Horus was tied to it. Was crucified and rose from the dead 3 days later. I mean, it's just
Yeah, that's it.
I mean, and that happened. Yeah, I mean that happened 3,000 years before Christ. So, there must be some sort of connection, being as the Jews were supposedly held in captivity and slavery in Egypt.
Yeah.
So it's just a good story that they co-opted.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what the priesthood...
If you call plagiarise, then.
Yeah, that's what the priesthood did, though, is that they went around collecting stories. The origins of the priesthood, really, isn't it? Just sort of close to bards and stuff.
Yeah, but see, we don't have any of this corruption. You know? We kind of stuck with the original story, and we don't have any of this corruption at all. We didn't translate the Bible. We didn't do any of these things. We kept it in its original language. I don't know. Or should I introduce? We have a guest. Can you say something, Evan?
Hi guys, how you doing?
Evan is a Freeman in the land from New York who's having a small difficulty.
Oh dear.
Small difficulty is an understatement, but I guess that's the best and polite way to put it. How's everybody doing today, man?
Yeah, we're fine, young man. Feel free to ask away for advice or what have you on the subject of setting yourself free from your difficulties.
Oh yeah, if I could just interrupt for a second. I mean, Zeus is sort of like Deus, which is like God, I suppose. But there's no like references to the smaller myths of Greek mythology, like Theseus and the Minotaur. I can't really think of anything.
No, they're trying to get away from that.
Yeah. So I mean, it wasn't all encompassing anyway. The Bible didn't. It's sort of like the NWO's mission failed on that particular one because they didn't grab up all the cultures
The
and.
NWO's mission is Catholicism, not Christianity.
Yeah.
And post-Catholic religions, not the Orthodox Church. They can't control that.
Well, according to the last book, this whore of Babylon, Catholicism, is supposed to collapse before the return of the Messiah.
Yeah, Babylon is baby London. Yeah.
Possibly New York City. I don't know.
Yeah, baby London. Yeah. Or the second London. Yeah, it could be like the banking capital of some place outside England or the UK.
Was Jerusalem builded here in England's green and pleasant land? Tells you everything, doesn't it? Tells you everything.
Because all you need to do is add Don onto the word Babylon, and you get Babylondon. Baby London. And I suppose Don means controller, doesn't it? Or like king or boss.
Yeah, more like boss, really.
Yeah, in the mafia sense, yeah. Short for Donald, as in Donald Duck as well. Ronald McDonald.
Well, Don, the boss.
Yeah.
Old means old. So the old boss.
Yeah.
Donald.
Yeah, and even though it's spelled A-L-D, Donald, then A-L-D is the old spelling of old, A-U-L-D in Scottish, I think, for Old Land Sign. Yep. The really obviously Masonic song, whatever, where you all have to stand together with crossed arms and just like, for all acquaintance be forgot. Da, 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 da.
Well, yeah, I mean, see that Scotland, the home of the Knights Templar, the old Crusaders.
Yeah. Yeah, that's just, yeah. It's, everybody sings it in pubs in order to bring in the new year, but I haven't seen it for a few years.
Can I bring some speed on you guys for New York City and some interesting areas of corruption that might give you a little salivating at the old jawline?
Be our guest.
Okay. I got a development over here. It's New York City Housing Authority is the beginning agency, who is a housing authority, so they don't really have any authority, but they manage as a landlord many developments here in New York City and such. 7 of those developments, mine is one of those 7, slotted for cooperative conversion. It's entitled Frederick E. Samuels Multi-Home Ownership Program, and it's listed in 3 groups. It's a Frederick E. Samuels Multi-Home Ownership Program 1, 2, and 3. I live in the 3. And where this becomes interesting is that there was a contract given to every resident who wanted to live in these units, in these developments, in the units. And each contract was split into 2 forms. One contract was for the same title as the building, lease agreement, and then again, the same title as the building, multi-home ownership program, opportunity agreement. Now, the first one stipulates all types of terms in the way that they offer it to you. But they say it's not an offer for sale. What it's an offer is basically consideration, I guess, and consideration for something that they would do, which would be finalizing 3 things: property restoration, resident training, and cooperative conversion. Once that's complete, they give that offering plan off to their law department for approval, back to us to get, I guess, the bylaws and such, and then move forward. Well, they had an expected time frame for this to occur. That was 5 years. And like 3 pages into the contract, it stipulates for the renewal process. The way that works is basically every year you submit your income affidavit, like W-2s and stuff like that, what you made for the year previously, so they'll determine how much you will pay in rent for the year that you're in now, the following year forward. There's caps because you have to make a low income to moderate income. Each year you're supposed to stay in that range. Okay, so you got 5 years to do that. Everyone, myself included, has done that, right? So to give you an idea, the contract was signed in '95. So 5 years from there would be 2000. In that year 2000, the expiration of renewing the leases was reached. So the part of the contract successive lease renewals exceed a total of 5 years. So here we go, the 5th year, not to exceed it. We passed the 5th year.
Now we're like renewed it.
Right, automatically renewed, which they wasn't supposed to do. Because, see, the automatic renew process would have been less the submitting of your income as far as your W-2s and what earnings you made for the previous year. So if you worked 2009 for the full 12 months, you give that income, your tax W-2s in for their proposing of the rent that you're going to pay for 2010. So each year they would do that, but they were only allowed to do that renewal process, which is called a successive renewal, for 5 years. So
do they actually state income?
Yeah.
Income
Yes.
verification. Enterprise.
Yes.
Income verification.
Wait,
Then your salary is not part of that. Your salary is earnings. It's only your income from investments, stocks, shares, you name.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you have to remember there's a difference, and it's defined in law, between income and earnings. Earnings becomes an exchange contract between you and your employer. You agree to work for your employer and create wealth for him or whatever, and then he in turn will give you this fiat currency, and it's just an exchange. You exchange fiat currency for your effort, for your work. That is earnings. It's not income.
I see.
And the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania, I think it was, the ruling was 1,500 and something. I can't remember the last two digits, but it's in the 1,500 range. Defined income and defined earnings, and they are two entirely different things. Your income, if you've got a stash of money in a bank and you get interest on that money, right? That is income because you've done nothing for it. You've not lifted a finger for it. You buy stocks and shares, and the price rises, and you get a dividend from that. That is income because you've done nothing for it. You've just,
So you can't be a low-income kind of like you're describing and actually have that kind of a high-class income. And you're not investors and stuff. I mean, that's not what's going on here.
Right. That's
so they're
correct.
defining it in these terms that don't even make sense.
Right. Right. So that's an excellent footnote. I wrote that down as well as have it just to the side so I could just group together so you could get the picture even further. So now, with that fact, adding on to some more falseness, they have that clause that stipulates the term, but at the same time, where the fight begins, when you mention the term, the silence begins. There's that acquiescence of silence. It's just you agree.
And they were promised to become owners of this in a condo kind of way, and they paid it. They paid the contract out, and then it was renewed. Even they continued paying.
Right.
And now they want to give the property to somebody else.
Well, that's even
New York City. Yeah. And they're kicking everybody out of the building. He's like one of the last two left in this group.
Yeah. Yeah. And what it is in what Ev said, it's even deeper to the kicking part out. I mean, they're doing income verifications through audits that have there's no audits in the contract. The only audit close to anything would be an income verification. There's nothing in there written about that. All these things I've addressed, and again, it's just been silence. And as I come down to the end of where I'm at with the actual notices.
Did you sign the original contract?
Yes, sir.
Why didn't you cross out the bits you didn't like and just initial them?
At that time, we're talking 1995, I'll give you just an understanding of my Freeman knowledge is really just kind of grouped and began about 3 to 4 years ago. So I'm really new to most of what has been occurring.
You see, when you sign in a contract like this, either party can make amendments.
Right. Okay.
Now, bearing in mind, most of the time, these contracts have been written by the other party. They've not been written by you.
That's right.
And they've already signed it or stamped it.
They didn't stamp it. Oh, well, I know what you mean. Yeah, it's already like written in as a rule. That's their little lineup.
They wrote it. So
right.
Presumably they've already agreed to that.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Well, then you can modify that, and they can't. Once they've put their contract out to you for you to sign, the law assumes that it is their contract and they have agreed.
I see.
Right? Then you can modify that, put your own bits in if you wish, or just cross out bits you don't like. But every contract that you are presented with should have full and honest and complete disclosure.
Right.
So they should have disclosed to you in that first contract that this contract will be rolled over. If they didn't do that, then under contract law, they cannot roll it over. You can then go back to the court and say, look, they didn't say they were going to roll this contract over. That is not part of the contract I signed. Throw this out because it's prejudice. It's prejudice.
Wow. You're right. I didn't think of that one either.
It's prejudice to your position. In other words, they've used their power to prejudice your position against what you actually signed up for.
Right. Right.
So you can challenge that rollover in court and legally challenge it and lawfully challenge it and get it thrown out. Simply because they did not mention in the original contract that it could be rolled over. It's full and complete disclosure. Right. And they can be made to abide by that. You can force them to honour that original contract. If they don't honour that original contract, they are disbarred from writing further contracts under corporate law. The state, the city of New York would be screwed because it can't write any more contracts. It's in dishonour of a contract.
Wow. Wow.
That's what the Uniform Commercial Code is there for.
Right.
They have to obey the rules. The way to beat this system is use their own rules against them.
Right.
It's not create any controversy, but it's to actually force them to obey their own statutes, their own bylaws. You see, even they call it a bylaw.
Right.
That means it's not really law, it's something that runs alongside the law. It's by the law.
Like paramilitary.
Yeah? It's not really military, it's just at the side of military, it's in support of it. So a bylaw is in support of the law, it just runs alongside it. It's not real law itself. Cannot stand on its own.
Right. And that's the same as the stipulations they were trying to raise. They were trying to raise before that under the guidelines of the 5 years for the income verification. They said, oh, well, we're within our right to check your income because it's still, but you didn't sell it. But it's in there's another agreement but it's just the tenant rules and regulations. That word that adjoins that into the contract is appended. It's added in, but it's not the governing rules. And I pointed that out. Silence again. So,
well, you see, you can show clear joinder between that and the original contract. You can make them do these things because the legal process, the legal procedure is precise, and everything is defined.
Right.
This is the problem they have when they write these contracts. It's all in legalese and it is legally defined. All the words, the body of words they use are defined by the Law Society in things like Black's Law Dictionary and what have you. Right. So if you understand that these words don't mean what you think they mean what the law says they mean, right? Then you get that idea. So if in the, as I said to you, if in the original contract they didn't disclose that the contract could be rolled over, then there's no contract at all.
Right.
They cannot roll it over because it's not. You've not agreed to it. You are not a party to that. You're only a party to the original contract, not the rollover. You're not a party to anything like that, and they can be forced to honour that original contract.
Right. Now that's where Ev and I was working through the notarial process, through the notary. Addressing them by way of the notary with the notice.
Yeah, well, you give them a notice of understanding and intent.
Right.
And your notice of understanding gives them notice that your understanding is that this original contract stands, and their appendages and amendments, i.e., this rollover, is not part of the original contract. Therefore, it has no force.
We did that, remember, Ev? And then they ignored it. So what it was we put a clause as well for response time, and they ignored it. So they didn't do anything more serious. They went through to petition the court for, the obvious, appearance thing to address the charges.
Yeah, but you should challenge that petition immediately.
Did that already. AFAV'd it and sent it back, shut that down. Now they came back around a month later with a 30-day notice to vacate. Just a notice, but they also required you to answer, and so we did that too, answered it, shut it down. That was a week and a half ago. No response. We gave a time limit, so it's all quiet. So where I'm at, I want to close it out, and I was thinking in the terms of, I don't know if I'm correct, writs of mandate.
You have kept all this documentation.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
All mailing receipts, everything.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Did you go to a notary and get him to actually witness those documents? Bang.
Yes, sir.
Bang.
Yes, sir. And he took it and logged it in his file. Yes, sir.
To be honest, as an officer of the court, the notary, you've got these. If it's exactly as you say, what these people have been trying to do.
Yes, sir.
In other words, they're using every avenue to intimidate you into because they know they've lost.
Yes.
I tell you, they know they've lost because you've got the law on your side.
Yes.
Once you've done this the right way, you have the law on your side. They know they've lost, so they'll try every little avenue.
Yes.
They will not dare take you into court with the information you have.
Yes. They're hoping. I told Ev, I sent him a scanned copy, and he had it on file. They tried to trick with a 30-day response period. They wanted you to get out in 30 days, but they gave you 30 days to answer it. They also had a trick with the sort of like the person who generated the document. I know there's a drawer payee, or I haven't gotten that memorized just yet, but there's someone who generates the document. There's a title to that person, and there's the part that the person is executing as a managing agent or a principal of some sort. They're that part. So it's in between there. They were trying to trick. They also said to send it to the landlord. The landlord name was not even a person. It was Frederick E. Samuels III. Now, that's not my development. And it specifically said this way throughout the course of the contract when I've gotten into this program. You cannot call yourself anything but the Frederick E. Samuels MHOP 3, which is abbreviations for the multi-home ownership program. Why? Because we do have public dwellings near us that are called Frederick E. Samuels 1, houses 1, 2, and 3. So if you call yourself the houses 1, 2, and 3, you just put yourself in a building you don't live. So now they have that as the landlord for me to contact. Well, I went straight to the chairman. That's the person I had been dealing with previously and talking through these notices and communicating. So they've been all silent, and they've never really responded. The only response I ever got from the notice of understanding and intent was by a general counsel who's from the law department that's within the agency, the New York City Housing Authority. But mind you, when requesting for someone to validate under what oath and authority you call yourself general counsel, chief hearing officers, all these fancy people no one will respond with any type of, because they're not a court. They're not a court of any type. And the conflict even gets larger because the actual party that I had the contract with wanted me to come into a tribunal that they held. That's a conflict right there. We don't even have an independent third party to perform that service of a
what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
What they're trying to get you to do there is contract with them in their jurisdiction. Don't do it.
No, I haven't done it. No, because they tried to have the notice.
They'll do all these things. They will trick you with the words. They will trick you with their little ploys. They'll do everything.
Yeah.
If you can keep this going and going and going, eventually, the housing development, whatever they call themselves,
Housing Authority, New York City.
Yeah, the housing authority have no authority whatsoever. They're not an authority.
No, they're not. Mm-mm. They actually have to petition a court to do any execution of any eviction for anything.
That's right.
In
other words, they have no authority. So keep that in the back of your mind all the time. They have no authority. They have no authority. So you then need to use your all the bullets in the Freeman armory.
We've done the notice of understanding intent. Shot that out 2 months ago. No response. A month later.
No response. Then you need to immediately send out your
notice of dishonor. I sent that as well too.
No. Your claim of rights and your fee schedule. Because if they have not responded to that notice of intent and understanding and it's a corporation, within 3 days, not 7 days, not 30 days, within 3 days, you can then claim it as a contract.
I see.
You can then claim it as a contract, and you immediately send out your claims of right and your fee schedule. And your fee schedule should be everything that you can think of that they're going to ask you to do, that even the state police, the courts, that everything, cover the whole freaking gamut. You know, so if you get caught jumping a light on the streets of New York, a red light, and your fine is going to be say $100, $130, whatever. $150. Okay. Your fee for complying with that order to pay $150 is $300.
Got it.
And that, once you've gone through that process, that fee will be legally enforceable through the notary public. He will get the bailiffs. He will organise it. You don't have to do anything. You just have to show them that they've received the fee. You've served them with the fee.
Right.
And then
that's it.
The notary will do the rest and claim that money back.
Got it. I got one notary that works well like that. This new guy just came into my midst. The other gentleman was an attorney at law. He told him about I needed his services for a protest. He said, "Oh, what's that?" Ev told me to send him a notice to put him on notice.
Attorneys at law are part of the law society. They are liars.
Yes.
They'll deceive you just as much as you need an officer of the court, a real notary, a justice of the peace.
Wow.
Because that's his job, is the peace. What you have to understand is that a notary or a justice of the peace, as an officer of the court, has access to every part of that court. You don't.
Right.
That officer of the court has access to the most inner chambers, judges' chambers, library, anything. He has complete, unfettered access into the court.
All the secrets, in other words.
Yes.
Yeah, because that's what secret means. It means hidden away, secreted.
I see.
Secreted.
Yeah.
I mean that's the whole point of a secretary. It's a secret keeper.
Yeah,
Got it.
exactly.
Got it.
It's the most important person you can have in a business is your secretary.
So even at this point of having gone through, because I went a few more stages. Let me just bring you to the actual stage I'm at right now. So with that part, they responded with a general counsel letter. I shot that down and sent it back. No response. That was it. Then they came back with, I told you, the petition. So I shot that down, sent it back to the court. Done. A month later, this is where we are now. So 2 weeks back, we're into the beginning month of May.
Before you go further, right? You've done all this, every little ploy they've tried. You've shot it back, and the what have you. Have they taken you to court yet?
No.
They're never going
been in
to.
there one day. Wow.
They're never going to. If they haven't taken you to court by now, they are never going to. Simply because you have shown that you understand the law.
Yes, I see.
And they know they're on a loser.
Wow.
Guarantee you it'll go a little bit. They'll try every last trick, but once they've tried the last trick and that hasn't worked, it'll all be made to disappear. It'll all go under the carpet, and nothing will be done and nothing will be said. You won't get any compensation. You'll get nothing. You'll just get no further communication from them.
Wow.
Oh no.
Wow. And see, in that respect,
this is what's happened loads of times with people that I know in the UK where they've challenged this system and gone through it. They get all sorts of threatening letters, this and that, the other.
Yes.
And then they get a letter right at the end of it which says it is not in the public interest to pursue this matter further.
Suddenly they're concerned about the public.
Wow.
There's nothing to do with their wallets, their coffers.
But I'm telling you, if they could have screwed you, they would have screwed you months ago when all this shit started.
You're right. Yeah. I mean, I've been doing this like with the Freeman approach since May of 2009 for a year. I'm still here.
And you're still there.
Yeah, I'm still here.
That means, you see, that should tell you is that this authority is no authority at all, and they are freaking powerless. Powerless. They have no power. They've got to trick you into contracting with them, and handing your power to them.
Right.
Yeah, and that's what they got to do. They got to trick you into doing that, and they haven't up to now. I guarantee you. if they can't get it done very shortly, they're spending so much money on it, they're going to say, forget it.
Yeah, their legal fees are in the hundreds already, because it's been that. I had a wave of a quarter with the management. They was back and forth with it was a gunfight with them for a while. Quiet, silence. They won't touch me no more. No phone calls, no letters, no nothing. Then the next wave was the actual housing authority. And then they
which
stopped.
Is no authority, as you've shown.
Right. And then the housing authority came back, but now it's on behalf of the law firm. And then I shut them down. So now it's been silent, and now it's this trick between the prepared document by the law firm, but it's signed by a representative from the management who is not in any position to sign that because she never validated the debt. I had her 6 months back at the corner for where she was silent because it was requested under the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, USC, I think it's 1695G. Give me some validation. Give me some verification. Nothing. Silent. Done. So I left that alone. But in
you do. You don't pursue things that they've already given up. That's because you don't. The whole idea is not to create the controversy.
Got you.
You don't create controversy because then you come into this legalese bullshit.
Yes.
You just shut it down like you've done.
Okay.
You send it back. You do what you have to do to each document to close it down, to close that avenue down. And once you've closed that down, don't even bother referring to it again. You've got it all in your records, right?
Yes.
And make sure you keep your records because they could, if just do a fishing trip in a court.
Right. No, I keep excellent records, so I'm really good at that. That's always been a forte of mine.
Yeah.
So I'm good with that.
Yeah, well, they do these fishing trips, and in America it's quite easy because they have a system called discovery. Now you can use that against them as well. Remember, you can use discovery to find out what these negotiations and decisions and why they made these decisions. You can get all that information out of this authority that has no authority at all, and you can discover what gives them the authority. You can ask them to disclose that. What gives them? That's why they're never going to take you to court, because they don't have any authority.
The last letter that I answered, 30-day notice, went back not only with the, I canceled it out, but I went back to double on it, just on the area for notice of acceptance of claim, and what you just said was attached in like about 15 to 16 questions in regards to just the questioning of authority, not joinder, not admitting to or having a part of it, just the questions piece by piece of whatever your notice said. Yeah. Who is this? You said I appeared. When did I come? You said I was there. What time I left? What time did I leave? I was never there. I was never here. I was never there. Submit to me the proof upon perjury, a penalty of perjury, so on and so forth. That information. So it was a good amount. And then also the enterprise. Oh, we have enterprise. Did your income? Who is enterprise? Where's their license? Where did you hold this? Who was the chief hearing? Your chief hearing officer decided that your termination of your tenancy. Okay, who's the chief hearing officer? What oath and authority do they have to determine anything? What oath and authority do they have to do a tribunal? What is a tribunal under your oath and authority? I just piece by piece by piece by piece question, identify this, proof and validation of this, identify this proof. That was, like I said, a week and a half ago. So silence and acceptance, acquiescence, I think it is. That's it. You agree?
Yeah, and silence and it's called silence and acquiescence. That's why you should have already. Yeah, you should have all, because to acquiesce is to agree to the contract that you send out with your notice of understanding and what have you. Yeah,
intent. Yeah,
an intent.
Right.
Well, that is now a contract because it's acquiescence. They haven't responded or tried to amend it. So you need to fire out your claim of right and your fee schedule ASAP. But the other thing is, any communication you send to these people, right at the top, bold letters, you state, without prejudice, as defined in Black's Law Dictionary.
Got it.
What that does, right, it creates this system of negotiation that's not allowed to be used in a court of law. When a police officer reads you your Miranda rights, you reply,
Okay.
Anything I say is without prejudice as defined in Black's Law Dictionary. Make sure you get that down, because they can't use any of what you say then in a court of law.
Wow.
It's without prejudice, right? This is what lawyers do when they send letters, the lawyers for one side and the lawyers for all the letters between them will have that without prejudice on. The reason is it's negotiation. If you do a deal, you've committed some offence, you do a deal with the DA, and then you get to court, the details of that deal are not allowed to be spoken or referred to in the court. All the judge will say, is there a deal? Wow. And the representative of the DA, the prosecuting attorney, will say yes.
I see.
And then what is the deal? Okay, well, he is willing to plead guilty to this lesser offence. Right?
I see. Wow.
So everything that you negotiated and stated in these letters, if you put without prejudice as defined in Black's Law Dictionary, that's their own Bible, then it's just a negotiating position. You're not creating controversy. You're just having a chat with them about who's responsible for this and who's responsible for that and how you do this, and I want to know this and you want to know that. And it's just a negotiation. There's no controversy involved in it. All right?
I see.
So that without prejudice is one of your most powerful tools, because it is in defined in the law so precisely. It's as viable as, I hate to use this, as the sanctity of the confessional in the Catholic Church. The priest is not supposed to tell anybody, even if it's about you breaking the law. It's absolutely confidential, and that's what without prejudice means. It's confidential. It's a negotiating position. It's got nothing to do with prosecution or blah or whatever, or evidence or shit like that. It's negotiation. And so it's your most powerful tool, well, one of your most powerful tools. But as far as that goes, though, you seem to have been pretty successful in closing them all down.
Yes, thank you. And it gets worse. I'll add a spin on it. There's something I found in the Black Laws Dictionary. I got a little library, not too big, but I got that from the Uniform Commercial Code. And what I found in the Black Laws was for something in a term where it says it's a leasee in the ordinary course of business. It's like it defines that. Well, the definition for leasee, but it has a subsection that states this other definition as a leasee in the ordinary course of business, a person that, in good faith and without knowledge that the lease is in violation of a third party's ownership rights, security interests, or leasehold interests, leases in the ordinary course from a person in the business of selling or leasing goods of that kind. What I'm looking at, if I'm reading that correctly, is because this is what occurred. They sold shares, okay, the very shares that we were supposed to be according, in the performance of the contract, acquiring at some point, were sold 2 years in of me actually having a lease. I have that documentation. It's a public file. I have it all printed out. I have their deed. I have their security agreement. I have the people. You
have absolutely no problem.
Wow.
File a claim of dishonor on the lease. If they've sold those shares that were pre-allocated to you in the terms of the lease, they have dishonored their contract. The contract, you don't have to honor that contract now. If they're in dishonor of that contract, you do not have to any further honor that contract. They do.
Right.
They have to put themselves from dishonor back into honor.
I see.
Right. That's how bad it is. There's at least three people who own shares to this development, and I have that printed out. Like they have a city website where you access all this Department of Citywide Administrative Services, and I got all the information. And that was mentioned also when I spoke with Ev. Ev was the one that put me on with the notice of understanding and intent. It was in there. I mean, I put all the meat and potatoes, and I guess that's why everybody got quiet, because it was like 2 pages worth of the stating of those facts. And
seriously, get your claim of right and your fee schedule, and on your fee schedule, right?
Gotcha.
Your fee schedule, you put into that fee schedule that, if you are forced out of that your home, your fee for complying with that is $1 million. They've taken your home away from you. They've deceived you with the shares, a share in ownership. Well, I would put it even higher than $1 million. I mean, a court.
Yeah, because you got 11 years worth of default. That's all the rent, all the utilities, all the inconvenience that it caused upon beginning with this process, the income verifications you had to submit under duress. I mean, I had tenants for where I'm at.
You can show false accounting.
Yes.
You can show dishonor of contract. You can show all sorts of things. Yeah, $1 million will probably be a bit low. How much does it cost to buy an apartment in New York?
We're talking my development's 2-bedroom. This value at market would be for sale no less than 1,500,000.
Okay, go for at least 2 million then.
Got it.
In your fee schedule, because then you can agree to just leave. You've followed their order, so you send them the bill for following that order, and then and if they don't pay up within the normal time frame of it depends on which state, but it's anywhere between 7 and 28 days usually.
I see.
You can then just go to your notary public, your friendly notary public, and ask for enforcement. And what they will probably do is place a lien on the bond, the insurance bond that this authority holds. And what that will do is the actual insurance company, the bond, will have to pay out to you.
Right.
But when the authority tries to renew its bond next year, because it's had to pay out, well, they will be able to renew it, but it's going to cost them at least twice as much.
I see.
Puts the price. If you remember, this is what happened with the medical situation in America. So many people were suing so many doctors and winning that the medical bond was going up so fast that doctors had to put their prices up to afford to pay the bonds, the malpractice bonds, and it was pushing the cost of medicine beyond the reach of most ordinary people.
Wow.
So if you attack them with their bond, then it reduces their ability to perform.
Understood. Yeah, standing under that one sounds pretty good. Wow. That's
so what was the Leon part again?
Leon?
Yeah.
A lien is basically like a sum. When you go to a court and the court orders you to pay a fine, that's a lien. The fine is the lien.
Okay.
Okay.
And the actual getting of the bond is like the levy, isn't that the levy? When you get the payment, when they levy you for the payment. Okay.
Yeah.
Isn't it L-I-E-N? I think it's L-I-E-N.
Yeah, it's just like basically.
See, most people call it inalienable rights. That means you are in lien. You should never say inalienable. You should say unalienable. In other words, you cannot be liened.
Yeah.
But if you say inalienable, you're already in lien. They have your birth. They've got your birth bond, so you're already in lien.
Well, we've lost, I think, 2 tenants in residing in the course of this fake eviction. I had a tenant. I spoke with Ev about it. It was an interesting scenario. The marshal was coming to evict one of the tenants. Now, I had shut down. She was a lot further on. These 2 other tenants, but the one I'm speaking about, both of them, though, were a lot further along in the process. They had already been to court, signed documents. They want to pay this. One signed that they were going to get out. All of that. Well, did the A4V shut all of that down? It had been quiet for both of them for a month. Then they tried again with notice of eviction. The old pink slip coming from the marshal with the court's title on it, coming out from the marshal's office, but it had the city civil court on it. Okay, so I took care of that, sent it back to the civil court clerk, shut it down. That process occurred 2 more times. The first tenant, the second one she got, even though I told her I could shut it down, she couldn't take it, so she left. It was too much. She was a single mom with kids, so that really, really ticked me off. And then the other one that just left last week, I took care of hers, but then she gave me a call early in the morning. She told me, Evan, the marshals called. They said they're coming to the house. The management called. Said, okay, so I rushed over there. I tried to prep her for what she would need to say when these people come, because I can't really say it for you. It's not my residence or anything. So I tried to prep her. She was good with it for a while. She had a lot of witnesses and such. The guy comes. I told her to ask for identification. There are 3 forms: his badge, his photo ID, business card. Showed none of that, but he did pull out a badge. I told her to repeat the question. It was getting a little bit difficult. She couldn't say it. All right.
Yeah,
When we
but
go in,
you could have actually spoken for her as her Mackenzie friend advisor.
wow, didn't know that.
There is a legal term called a Mackenzie friend.
Mackenzie friend advisor. Wow.
And you can be her advisor. You cannot be her legal advisor.
Right.
You can only be her advisor. You cannot be an attorney. You can only be her Mackenzie friend.
Wow.
So, but if you know the law, there's no.
Oh, I had him. I had him. I asked for the affidavit. I said, Myra, you might want to ask I never called him an officer or marshal. I said the man or sir or gentleman, you might want to ask the gentleman to see the affidavit. And then he goes to put the clipboard towards her to see it. Mind you, you didn't hear me say anyone was served a notice of a summons, a warrant of eviction. You didn't hear me say anyone was served. No one was served. So he shows her this paper. Looks like court documents. I'm a little bit away, but court documents. She looks. I realize, doggone it, she's not going to know what affidavit looks like, especially now under these conditions. All right, so I move forward. I start looking. I said, Myra, you might want to ask the gentleman to see it. I mean, to actually take it in your hand and look at it because you can't see it from that distance. And then he started, oh, why do you have to see it? This back and I said, sir, excuse me. She was requesting you to see it. Okay, that's it. I don't want to cooperate with your. This gets better. I don't want to.
Not only that, you see, you have a right.
Right.
You have a right to see it. To an unalienable right to ascertain that these documents are genuine. That these documents do carry the authority.
Yes, and he didn't do that.
If he didn't do that, then she could just ask him to leave. You know.
This is where it went. From that point, he approaches the other women and starts to tell them, you guys are going to have to hurry up. I was trying to be nice. He walks away from me. I said, excuse me, sir, I was talking to you. Can we continue talking? He says to me, who are you? Who am I? I said, I'm a witness. I have a right to talk. So he didn't say anything. He didn't look at me. He just said that. He still went towards the women, telling them, you'll need to hurry up because I was going to be nice and let you get the things, but now I don't want to. You only have a few minutes. I says, Myra, you don't have to go anywhere. He has not served you anything, and he has not shown you an affidavit. This eviction is unwarranted, and you don't have to go. If you leave, you're leaving under duress. Tell that man you're not going nowhere. You're not leaving under duress. Then he moved away from me because two other women went towards the room. One of them was her daughter. So he follows them into the room. Now there's a son there. I says, Myra, make sure you don't sign anything. I raised my voice just a little louder so she would hear me. The son goes to me and says, Evan, listen, please, man, just stop. Just stop, man. Just leave it. We don't want any more trouble. Just leave it. Oh, my gosh. I mean, at that point, but
that is the whole point of the exercise there, was to intimidate.
Right.
And the son was intimidated.
Right. I tried my best to stay in that driver's seat, and whether I knew the Mackenzie or not, and I wish I knew it, but, water under the bridge. But had I not, I didn't know, but I was still in that driver's seat. No one approached me to tell me to be quiet or stop saying what I was saying. Oath and affirmation. Under what oath and authority? That was the next thing out of my mouth before I shut up when the son asked me to. Under what oath and authority are you telling her to leave, sir? Sir, I know you can hear me. Under what oath and authority? I didn't want to move back there because the son was kind of with his hands. He wasn't blocking me, but he already was standing there with me, so I didn't want to push past that. But he didn't answer. I said, Myra, make sure you ask him. Don't do anything. Oath and authority. What does he have as far as his oath and authority? Tell him to tell you his oath and what authority he has to throw you out, to evict you, or whatever he's saying he's done. He has not repeated the same thing. He's not showing you any affidavit. He's not served you any warrant of eviction, anything. You do not have to leave. And then the son repeated what he said and asked me, just leave it, because we don't want to get any stuff lost here. So, in the course of that, I went outside and I kind of just was so fuming, and I just, that was that. Small things happened after that. But I know this. There's got to be a way to get that place back. Has to be. I mean,
you can gain remedy because he did not serve. He did not show his oath and his authority.
Excellent. That's the part where I knew there was an answer based on what I did and didn't get an answer to, but now how to proceed in enforcing that fact of where he did not do this. Where would I approach with that?
You see, if he didn't do it lawfully and legally, right?
Right.
If he didn't do it lawfully and legally, he may have done it legally, but not lawfully. But if he doesn't do it both ways, lawfully and legally, then there is provision into the law to return the situation to its original before that occurred. So she will be restored to that apartment, and the corporation, this so-called authority, will be restored to its position. So nobody can claim they are the loser. It's just restoring the status quo before the actual unlawful activity took place.
Got it.
So you're just being returned to your original positions. So nobody's a winner and nobody's a loser.
Okay. Now, with the course of what she's done, and now just to remind you, like I said, this particular woman, in the course of the notice of evictions, the pink ones that used to come from the marshals, I did take care of it, shut those down. Now, before that, the leading up to her getting those was agreements when she had previously went to court and she signed them. It was about maybe 20, 30 documents, but I took care of that too, and I shut that down. But see, now my question is,
you see, you could also claim not only that they did this under duress, but under intimidation.
Yes, she was totally under duress. Not only that, I will add, most of the residents in these developments, they're seniors. The only woman with kids, she was the only one that was young. These women are well over 60, and they're usually, this one, she does have medication for heart issues. So I mean, this whole thing was going down with that also on the page. Her holding her chest, her not having trouble breathing, but not to the point where you need a call. But she was definitely getting a little panic attack, and in all of that duress, it was just nothing shut down. But I lost the part where, like I said, I was winning, but it was only because he ran after the women to try to put the fear continuously. I didn't want to storm.
Yeah, intimidate the others. Yeah. Right. Well, that is intimidation, and again, you see, that is frowned upon. Right. But you can see how they chose that particular person.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. They never came to me with anything less than lightweight stuff. I mean, they tried, the most attempt they tried was that petition. But that petition to get me to come to court just to answer, of course, was just a regular petition. You got to respond in writing or in appearance. So I took care of that. But no further anything as far as heavy duty, like you said, really trying to come down. If they knew they was right, they know they lost. I've always felt strong with that. I mean, I'm not that illiterate where I knew what I signed back then. Did say that, didn't know a lot, but I knew that much. I knew 5 years, I'm good. And then now it's 11 years past the 5th year, and they're back. So with that dishonor.
Yeah, you see, you have honored your original contract to the letter and to the spirit.
Yes.
They have not.
That's correct.
So all this, they must know that they're going to lose unless they can intimidate you, and that's what they're using there. That is the only thing they're doing. They're not using the normal legal process, the procedures, otherwise they'd have you in court. So they're using an alternative, which is the intimidation and the duress, to try and get you to contract or to make a mistake.
Right.
Yeah, to make a mistake and contract with them, or to say to yourself, well, I've had enough of this bullshit, just let me get out.
Here. Right.
But if you don't do that, they've got no authority, they've got no power. You should realize that by now.
Yes, I do. That's why I'm still here. I told Ev, man, I'm not, I mean, I could, if I had to leave, by all means, under whatever pretense that it became that, but not like this. I'm not going down without a fight.
If you do anything, get that freaking claim of right.
Claim of right, yes.
And your fee schedule in like yesterday.
That'll be in the mail tomorrow, because between this
But
and
you need to get it notified.
Yes, through the notary. I will definitely be in contact with my notary. That's the gentleman who really knows with this process. He will definitely meet with me tomorrow. He's a mobile notary, by the way, so he could come into the city and meet with me, take care of everything, get it into the mail, notarize it, hit it to the mail, and the way the mailing setup is here.
Make two copies of your claim, of your notice of intent and what have you. If you haven't already, right?
Okay, the original ones I sent previously, I have those. Yeah, I can make copies.
Make copies. Get the notary to stamp them, and stamp them as being true copies of the original. From then on, you never send your originals out. Your originals are stored with the notary. You ask him to create a file for you, even if it costs you a couple of dollars. Create a file for you, keep the originals. You send out the certified true copies, certified by the notary, to all these different people. Then they'll know that you have the originals, but these are true certified copies that they cannot dispute.
You know, I never received anything like that from them, right? I never got an original. I never got certified documents. I never got certified true copy. Not even a single thing was ever certified, ever officialized in any way. It's just a bunch of people with comments and maybe a signature, maybe, but mostly just a title and printed, and a name and printed, and that's it. So
they are absolute. Unless you have a signature, right, on these documents, a signature, it has no authority. It's the signature that gives it the authority, and it's the person behind that signature who has the authority, not the piece of paper, not the body of words on that piece of paper. It's the person, the actual living being behind it. Actually, it's the person, because it's a corporate document.
Right.
So the person, I was quite right in the first place.
Yes.
It's actually, it's the person whose signature appears on that document that has the authority. The document itself has no authority whatsoever.
Got it. And that being a person, fictitious entity, now what weight does that have?
Well, it doesn't have any weight except in a commercial enterprise. And have you signed the articles of association with that company? No. So you're not bound by it.
Right.
You have to contract with them. And the only contract you've got is the lease contract, which you are bound by. Yeah, and so are they.
Was so low. The purchase price for each unit was maximum $5,000. Now that's the purchase price. Now what that would begin, so like once you buy it under that price, you just begin to pay mortgage on the income that you were at that 5th year left off at, and anyone that would need adjustments to go lower or such, mainly lower, because there was a cap. Whatever you reached that would be it. But you still were.
But again, it states income. It doesn't say earnings.
Right.
So
and that's amazing.
And unless you've got investments and what have you, you've got no income. All you have is earnings.
So that's the entire contract. That from 1995 until now, any form of payment that I've ever made in regards to income increases and income payments has been defrauded to me, because that was the term that was not fully disclosed, if I'm saying this correctly, in the way that I could understand it.
In the way that the contract was framed.
The contract was framed, right, because it doesn't at all state the income verification as to the term of what income they, call it to be. I mean, and generally speaking, outside of that, I would understand.
Well, income, as I say to you, income and earnings have been defined in legal terms by the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania, the highest court in the USA.
Got it. Wow.
And anybody who doesn't understand now that they should be submitting their tax returns on a 1041 yeah,
got it.
instead of a 1040.
Yeah, the 1040. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, submit it on a 1041, then every piece of your earnings comes back to you. Any tax you paid on your earnings has to come back to you by law.
Wow.
But any declaration of interest on banks and what have you that you again, that's income, you're going to pay tax on that.
Got it. Wow.
But if you do it on a 1040, the whole freaking lot is taxable.
Amazing.
They've fooled you into it. It's UCC 1, for goodness sake. Look at it.
Wow, you're right. You're absolutely right. Wow. Wow. So that's the meat and potatoes. Claim of right. That's where it begins. I'm going to look for some sort of a guideline sample template. Maybe the notary has.
Yeah, claim of right is the killer punch.
Right, and then a list of schedule free. Oh, that's your turn. Schedule free.
Because
over here in New York.
They put you outside that lienable cage. You're then outside of that cage. You are now free of that cage. You're a free man, and anything they order you to do, you can submit a fee for complying with that order, or you can just turn the order down. Say no, don't want to do that.
Right. Wow.
You know, you're inside that cage. I'm out here. I'm a free man. I can say yes or no. But if I say yes and comply with your order, I mean, what they're liable to do is put a gun to your head and say, yes, you will do it. You know, you will sweep that floor, or you will do this, or you will do that. But if they do that, you can then just hand them the bill, and they've got to pay it.
Wow.
And you tell them, you know, you're holding a gun to my head. This is, you know, I'm doing this under duress and intimidation. There's my bill for complying with your order.
Right. Wow. Now, I heard this mentioned before in the light of occupancy. A notice of occupancy can be filed against, I'm just kind of quoting what I heard, against the deed and the title.
Notice of occupancy. Right.
Okay.
Yeah. You do not occupy a residence. You don't.
Okay.
You inhabit a habitat. If it says occupancy and
no, yeah, that's what I'm asking. I'm asking, could I be one to file something like that and it work in my favor, or that's a no?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
This is not my residence. This is my habitat, and I inhabit this habitat. This is my habitat.
Okay. It would be the notice of occupancy defines my habitation as me habitating. Okay, that's the definition of what I'm doing here.
I'm not occupying this, right? I am inhabiting this. I'm not occupying it. You know, because basically you're saying, well, you know, you don't really own it, right, but you're staying here anyway because it's you inhabit this habitat, and that's it. It's your habitation.
Something like that, filing it with the clerk. Here in New York City, I'm trying to picture this. I go to the clerk or the commissioner of deeds, one of these two guys, or one and the same, I guess. I don't know, but never did that before. I'd like to take out an index number and file this against the deed. Does that sort of sound correct as to what that process would be?
Yeah, I mean, you see, you can file your own deed as well.
Okay.
Whatever they can do, you understand, whatever they can do, you can do.
Okay. That's just the process I never did, having not done it. How would it be done? Who would I file that with? Who would I be looking for to file that with? That's all I need to know. I mean, in the sense of the clerk, I thought it might have been the county clerk, because that's like the section when I look at the deed.
And you can even, you know, you can even file this deed of habitation.
Okay.
In perpetuity. in perpetuity or until your death.
Oh wow!
Whichever is the sooner.
For your
Wow.
heirs.
Wow! Wow!
And once you see, the thing is, you've claimed that as this is where you got to get your claim of right in. You've claimed that as a right to inhabit this habitat in perpetuity or until your death.
Got it.
Then they can fight over it. You don't care. They can fight over this shit. You're not worried about that.
Wow. There's so many remedies that just been discussed here. I didn't give up.
Like they say, there's more than one way to skin a cat.
Well, the show's going to get archived soon anyway. You'll be able to play it back and
Okay.
kind of pick one of the best fits. If
This
Lenny's
is
still
it.
around.
This is it. There are various remedies and various routes you can take. All those remedies and routes could be successful. Some may not be. But just because you've used one route doesn't stop you immediately switching to another route.
Right. That's one thing I never did because it felt like what I was doing was correct, and what they were doing was just trying to trick me and trying to overlook.
Well, they are doing. But
Yeah.
you see, if you find yourself running into difficulties with one route, you immediately change. You know there's lots of other routes to take.
Yes.
So swap it over. That'll confuse them even worse. That'll make them even more angry.
Yeah. You're right.
They will not be happy with you, I can tell you.
No, it's been said from one of the other tenants. The labyrinth of schemes gets even deeper. The gentleman who used to work with the management, there's a gentleman who used to work with management as the super for just maintenance or whatever. He was a younger gentleman. His father is a pastor in the church that the tenant who was getting evicted belongs to. Okay, so she worships in his church. The father of the gentleman who works in the management, part of that whole scheme of people doing this, nonsense, they're all in together, and then the son's involved. Well, he recently got fired. Now, he got fired because the tenant, like I said, she knows the both of them, told me it was because of me and what I was doing and helping everybody, so they canned him as an example. I guess he was a lesser of two evils. He really wasn't a problem. He handled maintenance. He really wasn't who I was fighting all of this with. It was two ladies in the office that I silenced many months ago, but they were the ones initiating all this paper back and forth under the scheme.
Well, it's all part of the duress to make you feel guilty.
Right.
But it was not your problem. They were the ones that fired him, not you. So all they're trying to do is project the guilt onto you. To modify your actions. Well, no. You're a free man.
Right.
You didn't step on his freedom.
Right.
Yeah.
You're right. I didn't feel that. I really didn't feel that.
You weren't responsible. You were not responsible for the actions of that corporation in the firing. Get that out of your head.
Okay.
You weren't.
I thought that maybe in some. I didn't feel the guilt. I just felt in the course of. Actually, this may sound weird, but just a course of joy because I felt the victory was getting through no matter what. And I felt bad that he had to get canned, but hey, I told him to tell them in the office they better stop. They don't know what they're doing. This ain't got nothing to do with me. They're breaking the law. It's not a question of once you start finding out what's right and wrong and you use it, they're the ones that are going to fall. They got a contract. They won't ignore it. And the Housing Authority does too. Because what? We found out you guys sold shares 2 years into our lease. You put us in a group of leasing in a course of ordinary business. What the heck are you guys doing? And you're trampling all over everybody's rights. Yeah, but you didn't think that one person was going to wake up and come out and try to fight. So, yep, we lost 2. There was other tenants who, through the course of many meetings, they were experiencing problems, but they just, I guess, personalized whatever they were going through and never reached out. I don't know what the status is, but we lost.
Okay.
Yeah.
Claim of right.
Okay.
You claim the right to
Okay.
to write your own lease contract. For their approval, you claim the right to actually write the lease.
Okay.
But you have to be fair, and you have to give full disclosure to both sides, because it'll get thrown out, because it'll be called a prejudicial lease. It prejudices their side. But you can write it in such a way that it gives you the right to stay there.
Got it.
Under the terms of the original lease.
There's only one, that exact phrase, what you just said, is the only addition. Everything else that I've looked through over the course of all these years has been fine. I mean, the way that the transition has occurred has been fine as far as what's described to be done. The only thing I have, you did not, do like a rollover. You had nothing for that. So my only continuance is leave, basically, and it was said like this before, leave us alone. Forget all your income verifications, all that, so leave us alone until you guys figure out how you're going to sell this by completing those three things: property restoration, resident training, and cooperative conversion. Until you can do that, leave us alone. Period. Because there's been tenants withholding rent. They don't bother them on that. I've done the same thing. They don't bother me on that. This only has to do with one particular year between 06 and 08 where they wanted income. I stopped giving income verification in 06. I complied under duress for the first 6 years, but then that was it. I started to learn my rights a little bit, so I started to take the challenge, and I was winning. So I haven't given them anything. And
but your income is zero unless you've got interest on shares. But your earnings are entirely different.
Right. Knowing that now, absolutely right. Before, I'm thinking.
But you can say that in this declaration. My income is zero. My earnings are my own affair.
Wow.
Nothing to do with you.
Wow.
You want my income, well, here it is, zero. My earnings, they're mine. They're not yours.
Earnings can just be money that people give you, can't it? So it's not attached to the business or anything that's...
But it's gain.
Yeah.
He's not selling stuff, to foreign countries or to the territories. He's not selling stocks and having capital gains. See, gain,
Right.
No, he's not.
That's what that is. There's no dividend payments.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's what they're talking about.
See, earnings are when you earn something, you exchange something. You don't sell it, you exchange it. You exchange your labor for that currency. That's it. It's just an exchange.
I got you.
Yeah. But income, you're selling something, you've bought it at one price, you've sold it at another price, you've done nothing with it other than offer it for sale, and you've made a profit. You've made that gain between buying it and selling it. You've made a profit. That is income.
Wow.
I see.
That couldn't be more complete. That takes care of a lot in the definition of getting, I guess, screwed. Because, wow, that
this
small...
is Harlem. This isn't Wall Street.
This lack of knowledge on those two words, income and earnings, it is just, now looking back, well, boy, that's more trouble for them now, because that's going to be in the claim of right. Fraud. You guys didn't have anything in there about that. You're asking for it, and then to challenge further into what you say, you're asking for income, and you're asking for W2. You're asking for the very thing that's not income. So now I have you on record in documents that you're requesting information fraudulently for it to be used as the income. So that's another. I have every year of the sheet that they use to send out for...
Unfortunately, you did contract with them and say, okay, here it is.
Okay, up to 2006, that's fine. That's fine. I mean, what's done is done. I can accept that. But now from 606 on, no.
You see, all this law, so-called law, legal shit, is looked at on a case-by-case basis. Each instance is treated separately, and just because this law, this legal garbage appears to be universal, it's not. You have to consent to it on every single time when you are approached with that statute, you have to consent to it. Not that you consented to it 10 years ago.
No, it's not a blanket. It's per incident, per statute and act.
Gotcha.
It is. Per incident, per statute, per act. Exactly right, young man.
Amazing. Amazing. That is a tremendous amount of information that is so helpful. It puts a lot of pieces in perspective, and it also helps to really get a more firm understanding of what the heck I've been doing since 1995.
Right. I'll now tell you a little story. A good friend of mine, I won't say his name, but he got caught with a bunch of marijuana in his pocket.
Ouch.
So the police arrested him and hauled him up before the court. Now, it was for his own use, but it was an amount that he bought for a month's supply, so he had got a fair amount. So then they said, okay, we're going to do you for dealing. You know, this isn't personal, this is now dealing, right? So we can't deal with this in a lower court. We have to go to the Crown Court, the Crown Corporation's court, Crown Court, right? So he packs his bag. He goes, he gets the summons. He packs his bag. He packs his toothbrush, his fags, and his blah blah in his little bag because he thinks he's going to do time.
Right.
So he goes to court, and they go through the beginnings of the procedure. Where's your counsel? Don't have one. I know what's happened. I've got this marijuana. There's no dispute. I'm not disputing it. I can defend myself. But in a Crown Court, you're not allowed to. You'll have to get a brief. And he said, no, I don't want one. I don't need one. I've admitted to this offence. I've carried this amount of marijuana. Why do I need a brief? Yeah. So the judge closed the case down, took him into his chambers, and said, you have to have a brief. You're not allowed to speak on your own behalf in this court. He said, well, I'm sorry, but I know I could be doing time and doing this, He says, and look, here's my bag. I've got my toothpaste, my toothbrush, changes of clothing, cigarettes, and what have you. He says, I expect to get time. Well, we can't do it like that. You have to go through the procedure. The statute, procedure. You have to go through this legal procedure. And and to go through this procedure, you're going to need a defense barrister. And he said, no, I don't want one. You have to have one. He said, well, I don't want to, it's my choice. I don't have to contract with this guy who's going to, he's going to represent me. I can represent myself. He's only going to represent the case. I can present it because I know the truth. I've got it here. I know it. And the judge just threw the case out. Just said, okay, case dismissed. On your way, lad. And he went home. Now, he didn't know what he was doing. The guy honestly did not know what he was doing, but basically what he did, he just did not contract with that court. And the court had no jurisdiction over him without that contract. They had to let him go. And he didn't even understand why he'd been let go. Until we started talking about it, this is like years later, and then he understood why. Because by hook or by crook or by stupidity or whatever, he did not once contract with that court, and they had no jurisdiction over him. And they had to let him go.
Wow.
And I've no doubt the coppers kept the marijuana and sold it for their own benefit.
Wow. So that's the same thing here. I mean, if I don't have any contract with any court trying to approach me, let's say for some sake you go back the petition route again because you want a 30-day notice to vacate the stand, you ignore my stuff. I'm not in contract with that court, so there's no jurisdiction over me as well. Is that correct as well? My understanding?
Yeah, your understanding is spot on the button. You have not contracted with them. This is why they're using this method of coming at you with different bits of paper that mean nothing because they've got no authority. They're trying to get you to contract with them. As soon as you contract with them, bam, they'll jump on you. They've got you by the short and curlies.
There's the joinder. Got it.
They've created that contract, that joinder between you and the court, and you're screwed.
Wow. I've been doing good so far. Oh, wow. Good. Wow, that's good news.
Like I said to you, if you had made a mistake, if you had not shown them that they are powerless, they would have jumped on you like that young woman who they jumped on and convinced her that they are the authority, which they didn't.
Right. And she was weighing
even you understand, even in that case, they did not get an eviction notice in a court of law where she was there.
Right. No, she wasn't.
She wasn't.
They got
there.
whatever they got. They got after, way after, and she wasn't. She never went.
Yep.
And they didn't serve her anything. They showed her papers. Oh, this is the affidavit, but she didn't know what it was. As soon as I moved closer, the papers started flipping down. See, so I mean, there was no affidavit. I didn't see it. It was just some court papers. But there you go. I mean, the bluff, incredible, and of course.
Well, it is all bluff and
like
If you notice on several of these police knock at the door, bang bang bang, open the door, police search warrant. Okay.
Right. Right. Absolutely.
And then some idiot opens the door. Okay, Mr. Policeman, right? Poke your search warrant through the letterbox. Let me have a look. Now. Yeah. Put your authority through. Your. I want to see your bond and your oath. Just to make sure you have the authority for what you're doing. I mean, they'll break your door down, but if you get that on video and what have you, they've operated outside their remit. They've operated illegally. They have to serve the warrant, the search warrant. Unless that warrant comes through that door before they break in, out the window. It's illegal. That's illegal entry. Right?
Didn't happen. Did not happen. No warrant of any kind was served. Nothing. And that was another error which you just described, how he actually got in. Because what I told him, I don't let him in. I said, oh no, we're not going to let him in. Okay, so one wanted to go in.
Yeah. Keep your door closed.
Keep going in. Well, when one went in, they let him in. They let him in. No, Myra, don't let him in. And they kind of just let him in. Not served anything. Welcomed him right in. So, wow, that's amazing.
Well, immediately you let these people in, you've contracted with them. You've let them in by consent. You've consented to them being in your property.
Wow.
This is donkeys ages ago. I got accused by the police and arrested at my place of work for so-called stealing sugar.
Wow.
Yeah, stealing sugar as if I'd need sugar. So, I mean, the fields are full of it around here, but
Wow.
it grows wild in my back garden. But so I got accused. So we they didn't handcuff us. What they did, they sat one policeman in the back with the semi-skilled engineer at the side of the one in the back, and I was sat in the front. And they were driving down to the police station, and he was ripping through this town at 80 miles an hour. And I said, slow down, it's a 30 limit here. He says, oh, I'm a professional driver, I can do this, I can do that. Right? So he's coming up to these traffic lights, and they're changing. And so he's still doing 80 miles an hour. Guess what I did?
What'd you do?
got hold of the handbrake and ripped it on so hard it stalled his engine and locked the back wheels up.
Wow.
That copper stopped. So then I just put the handbrake off and says, now's travel at proper speed.
Oh.
Well, he was in the front, right, on his own with me. The other copper was in the back with the other guy, but my mate, my semi-skilled fitter, was sat behind me, so the other copper was on the opposite side of the car, so he couldn't get at me either. So it was this copper sat in the front, restricted by his bloody steering wheel and what have you, facing me. Yeah. So anyway, I'm in the police station, and they take me into this room. Sit down. No thanks, I'll stand. I'm quite happy here. Yeah. And he's fiddling about. So he says, right, I'm going to take a statement from you. I said, okay, give me a bit of paper and a pen. So he says, no, he says, I'll ask you questions and I'll write down your answers. I says, oh, well, no, I want to write my own statement. He said, okay then, and he writes all the details at the top. And he asked me a question, and I said, right, the first statement I'm going to make is, I was refused permission to write my own statement.
Wow.
And the cop says, I can't put that down. I said, well, that's the first part of my statement. Anyway, he wouldn't do it, so we went through all these questions and I answered all his questions. But when the coppers arrived at the factory, they arrived at the gate, and the security guard rang through and alerted us that they were there coming for us.
Wow.
So I rang the wife and immediately told her, don't open the door for anybody, and give it 10 minutes and then ring the police and tell the police in Mansfield that I've been arrested by people who are masquerading as police officers, because they wouldn't show me the warrant cards or anything.
Wow.
And she did that while I was still down the station. Anyway, I'm in the station, police station. They're asking me all these questions. Then they say, well, now you've got to sign this statement. So I said, okay, I'll sign the statement. So guess what I did?
What did you do?
I was refused permission to write my own statement. Then I signed it.
Oh.
At the bottom.
Amazing.
Hang on a minute. Yeah, so he ripped that one up. He ripped that one up.
Yeah, it's a contradiction in terms, isn't it? You write your own statement and say, oh, it's refused permission.
So he
invalidates your own signature and stuff, and kind of invalidates the form.
Yeah, invalidates it. So he ripped that one up. He says, we'll have to start again. I said, okay. Right at the top, I was refused permission to write my own statement. So he'd start, he'd put all this information on, so he just picked this form up again, just crumpled up in his hand and threw it in the waste paper basket. Yeah. And he said to his mate, right, take him down the cells. So we went down the cells. And so they had to go at me mate. And of course, the mate, he was terrified, so, and he said, look, I haven't done anything, and poor bloke was terrified, he was in tears. And they went round his house and searched his house and found nothing and blah, blah, blah. And then a couple of hours later, they came down and said to me, okay then, here's your laces and your belt and other things back, you can go. I said, hang on a minute, what do you mean I can go? I said, get that bloody police car here and take me back. This was a false detention, false arrest. Take me back. Anyway, waited about 10 or 15 minutes, and one of the little noddy cars came who was going around the area, and we got a lift back to the bloody place. Nothing happened. Nothing. Not a thing.
Wow. That is amazing.
Yeah, because I know in Barbados they love to drive fast and they're very excitable because I was like taxi driving like from one end of the island to the other and just like he was just like going as fast as he possibly could and I was trying to get him to get the speedo right to the other end.
Oh, you can get in 2 taxis and your mate's in one and you're in the other and you offer them $10 to get to Bridgetown first. You want to see him to race?
Yeah, so you could put bets on like you just like swipe him like that, at the windows. I was just a terrible, worst sort of encourager, you know, like make the car swerve.
Oh man.
But the difference, see, they're not police officers here; they're more policemen.
I see.
They are the men in the uniform. I mean, I got stopped at in Bridgetown. I made a right turn, and there was a sign, no right turn. I didn't see it. Anyway, this policewoman actually called me over the road, so I went over the road, and she says, park in this little car park here. So I parked in the car park, and she was just walking across towards me to start asking me questions, and another car did exactly the same thing. And she says, don't go away, I'll be back, I'll deal with this other man first. So I got out my car, walked down this road to see if it said no right turn, and yes it did. Unfortunately, right in front of it was parked a big panel van. Nobody could see the sign. So when eventually the copper came across to me, I said, I didn't see the sign. It's there, yes, I agree, but there's a big van parked in front of it. And I said, come on, just come and have a look. I said, it's that van who's illegally parking that caused me to make this mistake.
Wow.
So she walked down and she had a look, and she walked further down the road as though she was, would be in a position from driving up the road. And she said, you're right, you can't see that sign. I said, I know, Yeah, but she said then, how long have you been here? I said, well, I don't very often come down this part of town. Probably once a year or even less. So she had a right good talk to me. She said, look, I've caught so many people today, my fingers are tired. I can't be bothered to write this ticket. She said, but I've got my eye on you. Behave yourself. You do this again and I'm here. She says, I will book you. Have a nice day, sir. Thank you very much. So I just...
Wow.
Just like that.
Oh.
A different method of policing here.
Yeah, very different. Wow.
Yeah, she was acting under her oath as a peace officer. Simple as.
I see. Wow.
She wasn't a policy enforcement officer.
Oh,
she may have been changing her hats now and again, but in my particular instance, she was a peace officer.
Policy
there you go.
enforcement. That's New York City. That's us over here. Everything is contract presentments left and right. Ticket for this, ticket for that. But no, I take care of those too. I mean, I don't look to get tickets, but the most I'll ever get is a parking thing.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing to include on your fee schedule is the presentation of your license and registration. It's $100 to present those two. And once you comply with that order to present them, you give along with the license and registration, you give him your invoice, your bill for complying with that order.
Wow.
And if the police department doesn't pay for it, the policeman himself is liable because he's the one that's got the signature on the ticket.
That's right.
And he won't pay for it. So what does the notary public do? Go after his bond, and the bond pays up. Next year, the bond for that policeman is increased because he's had to pay out. And they always put the price up of your bond if the bond has to pay out, and it doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter whether it's the bond on your house, the insurance on your house, or the insurance on your car. You screw it up, and they're going to put the price up for the bond.
Right.
It's a check for that amount.
Wow.
Yeah. So there you go.
That's amazing. That is amazing. I usually take care of just they send something A for V, out it goes. They send maybe a couple of weeks later another attempt to offer you an adjustment. It'll go the ticket same day you get it, bam, right in the mail. Then maybe
just to show you how this corporate law statute and what have you, the UCC operates. My wife bought 2 computers, one for my daughter, one for myself. After 3 months, my daughter's computer just gave up the ghost. So the wife took it to the shop to get it serviced. They refused to honour the warranty.
Okay.
Yeah?
Okay.
So she brought it home, and I said, don't worry about it, I'll sort it out. She says, well, don't go doing this and that, but I did. But, so, in the meantime, my daughter had got in touch with Hewlett-Packard, the manufacturer, and found that, okay, if we sent it to America, Hewlett-Packard would repair it, but we'd have to pay for the shipping 2 ways, which was enormously expensive from Barbados. But part of that was, how come you've got a machine with that serial number in Barbados? Because that is a serial number that is applicable only to machines retailed in the US.
Wow.
Well, we bought it from PriceSmart, a US company. But they shouldn't be selling them in Barbados.
Wow.
Yeah? So with all this knowledge then, I read up on the UCC concerning these subjects. I can't remember the numbers now, but say it was Title 35, Paragraph C, blah, 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 whatever.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, that dealt with that. So I put my best English accent on.
It gets better, huh?
And telephoned PriceSmart and asked to speak to Sanchez Vera, the CEO of PriceSmart.
Wow.
And they put me through.
I knew they would. I gotta get it.
My first words out of my mouth were, Mr. Vera, are you going to honour or dishonour this contract? And he's going, what contract? What's this? What's that? I said, we bought my wife bought a computer from your store in Barbados. It comes with a warranty, which they've decided to dishonour. So my question again is, are you going to honour or dishonour this contract? Oh, he says, I don't know the terms and all this sort of shit, blah, blah, blah. And I said, okay, look, we contacted Hewlett-Packard, and they say that this machine should not have been sold in Barbados. It is a US serial number machine. You understand this is a breach of the Uniform Commercial Code, section, Title 37,
right,
blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And Hewlett-Packard would be very interested to know that you are dishonouring their business, their contract, their warranty. Do you want to lose the Hewlett-Packard contract? And he's going, go to the store tomorrow. I'll have it sorted.
Wow.
Right? The wife went to the store with a computer. Right? She was met there by several people, but the manager came. She got all her money back.
Wow.
And she got a new computer.
Wow.
And spent some of the money on storage units and bits and pieces for the house.
Amazing.
So this stuff really does work if you know the way the system is set. Because if PriceSmart were dishonouring Hewlett-Packard's contract, then that was the end of it. They'd get no more business out of Hewlett-Packard.
That makes sense. That makes absolute sense. Wow.
So there you go.
Wow.
It would kill their dealer agreement.
It would.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we are gaining power and we are gaining knowledge and strength. Just a matter of give it time and hope it.
I believe
how we can spread the word fast enough.
I believe it's inevitable. The truth is the truth all day, every day. You can't suppress it. It comes out one way or the other. As out of the truth comes the lies, so it's got to start back from where it foundates the truth again. And all of this is evident in just in so many things I've seen with dealing with an agency that generates a document that they themselves don't want to follow through because they did something that they shouldn't have done, and are trying to cause this massive illusion year after year and tricking. They've been getting away with it, but
well, that's why you are achieving what you're achieving, is because they have dishonored the original contract. They've contrived to don't ever say, by the way, that they've broken or breached the contract.
Oh, really?
Because that destroys the contract. The only thing you use is the honor dishonor. They work on the honor dishonor system. So
broken means they've quit the contract.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I never said broken. Breached, I might have used that term into misunderstanding. Breached in accordance to a code of the breached in accordance to the fulfilling of the obligations. That's what I was referring to. Breach in according to what was expected.
The obligation. Again, you see.
The obligation.
Yeah. In other words, you didn't say the contract. You said what you've told them is that basically, using different terms, they've dishonored it. They've not honoured their contract. They've breached the doodah in. Yeah. So that basically was they breached their honour.
Right.
You have to be so careful because these words mean things legally.
I see. Wow. I've been
not they're not the street words. These are it may be English, but it's not the words of the street. It's the words of the law.
It's legalese.
Right.
It's legalese.
Right.
It's the same language, but different meaning.
Understood.
That's how they fool so many people into their little secret statute system of law of legal procedure. Because that's all statute is legal procedure. It's de facto law. It's the only thing that gives it any force is your consent.
Right. Do this, do that, do it this way, do it that way. That's all.
But unless you consent to it,
right.
It's got no force.
Right.
Yeah. It's all there to fool you, isn't it?
It is there to fool you, and it's there to get you to contract. So that you place yourself in their jurisdiction, because originally you never were.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You see, and on this side of town, for where I'm at in New York City, it's a very limited conversation. There's a few people who may have certain understandings, but I mean, I started with a little group a couple of years ago with just two other guys, and I passed them. They're married guys, but their time was limited only to the time we spent when we worked on a job together when I was working with these two guys. But when we all went different ways, different assignments, they had fell behind in continuing on this stuff, so they kind of relied on me. But nobody was facing anything as of an emergence as what I'm dealing with. Anybody else would just be looking to maybe combat a mortgage or something. But my situation was much larger, than what they were doing. That's what actually sparked it. What I was doing, dealing with these idiots, was what sparked me to become investigative of Freeman.
Do you have a local paper?
Yes, Daily News, Post, Times, New York Times.
Yeah, they obviously have a page with notices where you can give notices.
Yes.
Well, it's not limited to the authorities in New York giving notices. You can give notice.
I see.
Now, you can give notice, and it's their problem if they don't take notice of it. You can give notice that your notice of understanding and intent by default is now a contract.
I see.
With the state. And you can also then place in that notice that these are your fee schedules and your claims of right. You can post it both to them the Attorney General or whatever in New York, and you can post it in the paper.
Wow.
For a few dollars.
That sounds like a fantastic idea.
And it's the same principle where you get divorced, say, and you put a notice in the paper, I am no longer responsible for this woman, or if you're a woman, this man's financial problem. You're no longer responsible for her because you're divorced. Right. And if
marriage,
people
divorce, deaths, all of those get posted.
Yeah. So you can use that, because that is another legal avenue, lawful avenue, of bringing everybody's attention to the fact that you are a free man, and these are your fee schedules, these are your claims of right, these are your new rights, because they've now contracted with you under your notice of intent and understanding. So
just by default, not even answering it. Yeah.
Yes, by default.
They never answered anything. They never answered. They just try and trick. That's basically all.
You see, unless they challenge that in some way or other, they can challenge it by crossing bits out and initialing it, or they can just refute the whole thing, or they can do all sorts. But the ball is in their court once you give that notice of understanding and intent. If they do nothing, by default, it is a contract.
Right.
Put that in the New York Times, send it off to the Attorney General with your claims of right, with your fee schedule, both systems. There's no legal argument they can push that will change that situation. None.
Wow.
It's then law.
Wow. Amazing.
You have a legally enforceable contract with them. Wow. And that's all the notary public does. If you hand one of your fees over to whoever's ordering you to do something, you hand your bill over, all he's doing is enforcing that contract.
Right. Wow.
And he'll send the sheriff, because he can order the sheriff, to go out and collect this money.
Yes.
With a bail bondsman. Abso-freaking-lutely.
Yes.
He is an officer of the court.
Yes. Very aware of that. That's the great part of having found a gentleman that does that in the way that it should be done. Like I said, I ran into a couple others, a little lazy. Oh, what's that? Notice protest? What's that? And that's why I said Ev told me to give him a notice, to put him on notice to be he's breaking his own laws. I said, Ev, let me check one more guy before I start another fight with somebody else. I just want peace.
They're lawyers and notaries sometimes. And
right. I knew he was lying. But I mean, I just said, Ev, just hang on. Let me see if I can get one more guy. Because if I can get this guy, no problem.
You see, a notice is not a fight. Okay. It's a negotiable instrument.
I see.
But if they don't bother to negotiate it, then it's a contract.
Wow.
Same as all these things, checks and cash. Right. They're all negotiable instruments. They're all financially. Most things are. A ticket, a speeding ticket, is a negotiable instrument under the terms of the Finance Act. It's a negotiable because it means money.
Right. Wow, that's amazing.
This is the problem when they created all these corporations, is that everything means capital, revenue, interest, money.
Right. So it becomes becomes commercial.
Yeah, everything becomes commercial and capital.
We're sucked right into this matrix.
Yeah. We've done the 3 hours now of the show. I mean, we can carry on if you want. I need to go and get shaved and washed and stuff.
I'm going to Yeah, I'm going to head out too. I'll actually, and any invite from Ev, I'll come back on another time. Not a problem.
Yeah, this has been great.
Yeah, absolutely. Gentlemen, thank you. I really appreciate all your advice.
You realize, of course, we're not giving you legal advice. We're just
none whatsoever. No,
we are just your Mackenzie friends.
Friends.
Your advisors.
Advisors, absolutely. My Mackenzie friends, advisors. Yes, that's exactly what we all are. Well put. I'm going to remember that because I'm laughing because that part of what I knew from before is probably the courage of the definition that I was missing. That gave me the courage to do what I was doing. Because I had the courage to stand up. And if I had known that could have kept me standing and going, wow. But I know now what to do to fix it. And as it goes along, I'll definitely keep everybody abreast of what's happening. That's not a problem.
And believe it or not, a Mackenzie friend is enshrined in their statute and codes titles.
Right.
I see.
Well, this has been American Mackenzie on the Pro Freeman Society Network. I'm your responsible party of Stratios Constantine Mackenzie Morades, and my co-host is Maggot. Our world's favorite guest is the Caribbean critic, and our guest today has been Evan Spencer. You can get our podcast at tinyurl.com/WFS podcast. And, of course, Maggot's MySpace page is tinyurl.com mymaggot.
Yeah, with a forward slash between URL.
Yeah. Right. And anybody else have a plug or whatever?
If anybody wants to email me, it's evan.spencer@log.com.
And don't forget www.worldfreemansociety.org.
Yes.
That's the place. That's the place for freedom right there.
All right. Well, I'll be responsible. I'll take this off the air here. Here we go. 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 Here we go.